I'd like to call to order a regular board meeting for tonight, April 16th, 6:30 p.m. Not regular board meeting, I'm sorry, committee of the whole meeting. Let the record reflect it is approximately 6:38. If everyone would stand for a pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if you remain standing, ask our Chief of Police to lead us in prayer tonight.
Everyone bow your heads, please. Lord, we come to you tonight asking for your guidance. We ask that you guide the hands that run the government in the most possible, feasible way. We ask that you wrap your arms around us. We ask that you look out for the sick and the shut-in that can't be out with us tonight. We ask that you forgive us for our sins. And we ask that you keep us in your ever-loving arms. In the name of Jesus we pray, amen.
Amen. Amen. General announcement?
I have none.
Okay, let the record reflect that our department heads are here: Fire, Police, Director of Administration, our new Director of Water Management, and Superintendent of Public Works. No general announcements?
Yes, I have an announcement, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce to the board and the public, I've been in conversation with HBO, Home Box Office, to air a documentary that will air on Channel 4 and 99 as a public service announcement. For those of you who subscribe to Dish or Comcast, you probably receive HBO, and you're probably familiar with Vice. There's a program called Raised in the System, and it's about young, troubled teens and preteens who get caught up in the system, which is considered the prison pipeline. And in this documentary, we got approval from HBO to air it, and in the possession of all of the trustees, including the mayor, is the agreement with HBO and the Village of Dolton to air this. It's free, gratis, that we can air this. The purpose of airing this, for those of you who remember Scared Straight, this is more impactful than Scared Straight because we're not trying to scare the young people. What I would want us to do, grandparents, parents, to sit down with young people and let them watch this documentary. For example, they chronicle young people that get in the system at the age of 11. They talk to men who are in their 40s and 50s who've been in the system since they were teenagers. What is the purpose of seeing this? So if you sit down with young people, it will scare them straight. The young man that's hosting this particular documentary, his name is Michael Kenneth Williams. You're familiar with him if you've seen the show called Wire. He was on 12 Years Slave, and he chronicles these young people and the older people who are in the system. And the chief of police can attest to you, oftentimes when these young people who are caught up in nefarious activities, they're usually headed by a single parent household. One of the deterrents that we would like to have is for them to see this documentary. I think this is one of the most important documentaries that I've seen, and I've seen hundreds of documentaries that I reached out to HBO to plead with them that we show this on our two channels, 4 and 99. One of the heartbreaking persons that you would see, and I would hope that we could have seen this tonight. Mayor, did you get my information that I needed you to release, Mr. Steve, to put this up tonight? Did you receive that?
I received a email that you sent to our Director of Administration asking to sign off an agreement with the HBO. And my recommendation prior to showing this, with all the restrictions that they require us to do and sign off on this in case if it was released, in the repercussions that we would be exposed to, I asked him not to show it tonight for the simple reason that it should be reviewed by the board and also should be reviewed by our attorney in regards to any litigation that we may experience in case for some reason it happens to escape our custody.
Okay, well, let me clear that up very quickly, because it's not that complicated. I also talked to Attorney Murphy concerning this agreement. This is a basic release agreement, meaning that when you make an agreement with a distributor, syndicator, and you let them know what you're using it for, just so everybody knows. We're not trying to make any money off of this documentary. If you look in the first paragraph, I think the term gratis is in there somewhere, and I'm sure Attorney Murphy saw that.
Did you read it?
Basically means free. We're not charged for this. We're not liable for this. We have no ownership of this property. But this is very key for our people in this village to see this documentary. And the reason why I asked the mayor this, because I asked the media department to show a 4-minute clip tonight. Didn't get the cooperation, and he did say, the media director, he has to get permission from his I think he used the term supervisor or manager. And as you all know, and the board is well aware, and the attorney's well aware, that language is not in our ordinances that we have drawn up so that we don't come into this. But hopefully we'll get past this. I'll count it as another miscommunication. But the bottom line is, we do have the agreement here, and I would hope that the trustees go. We just want a consensus tonight that we would like to show this for 1 month showing on Channel 499, and we will put some promos together to let the public know that it's on our channels, and it will not be on the internet, strictly for our cable and not the internet. And I would like a consensus from this board tonight that we show this for the following month to the residents of the village of Dolton. Board.
Well, as a former employee of the Department of Corrections, Scared Straight was a very good program. A lot of schools came to the Department of Corrections and took their kids on tours, and this have deterred them to come to jail. If you look at the status of how much money we receive to educate our child versus how much monies we use to incarcerate young African Americans, I think this is a good idea for these young people to watch the documentary, and maybe if you just reach out to one individual then and save one child, then that's a child of ours saved. During my tour of duty, over 75% of the young men and young women, because you have a lot of young women that's incarcerated also today. And so if you reach out and you could save just one, that's one of our children to be saved. Thank you.
I think that from the video, what I've seen, I think is a very good video for our community to see. And Trustee Muhammad, kudos to you for the work that you've done on it. I would like to get Attorney Murphy's take on just the legal language, but if he doesn't see any problem with it, I'm in agreement.
As a former educator, I've worked with students from kindergarten to 8th grade, and I can verify that our children need as much help as humanly possible. Our children vanish because of lack of knowledge, and if we could get something to them to help them, because it's a bad state of being out there for our children, and I think this sounds like something that could really benefit our children. So I'm in agreement.
I too am in agreement. As Trustee said, if we could touch one child or save one person's life and keep them out of the system, we have done a good deed. So I think that, and I've watched different versions of Scared Straight, and it reaches a lot of children who never go back. And of course there's always those who will still go back, but I mean, just imagine how we could help the youth and showing this. So I'm in total agreement.
I don't have a problem with it. I would like to hear from the attorney. As long as we cross our T's and dot our I's, I am for it.
The agreement is for a limited period of time, and it is free to the village. It's what's called a license agreement, and it's for a period of 30 days. So I don't see any risk to the village if the program is shown during that limited 30-day period. It can't be linked to any other advertising for any product or service. In other words, it's got to be displayed on a standalone basis during the 30 days. And once the 30 days are over, that's the end of the permission. But there's no cost to the village. That's in numbered paragraph 1 where it says on a gratis basis.
Thank you, Attorney Murphy. Now,
Let me make one other
yes, sir.
recommendation. If the board wants to move forward with this prior to May 7, which I believe is the next meeting, I would recommend that the formal approval nevertheless be on the May 7 board agenda. Because this item's not on the agenda, being a committee meeting, the board can't take a formal vote to approve and authorize the execution. Dwayne, Trustee Muhammad, what was the date that you were proposing that it be initially shown?
Yeah, May 7th is fine. My question was, and I'd been in communication with Ms. Johnson as a signer, if you notice on page 2, for home box office signature and the Village of Dolton. I didn't know if we can authorize her to sign that or it would be the clerk or whomever, but we'll go by your recommendation on the second page.
As long as the board votes it, there's no problem. So
Okay.
if it will wait to the 7th, if take a look at the second paragraph, I'd roll those dates back from April 20, to May 8, 9, or 10, whenever it would first be proposed to be displayed, because once the 30-day clock starts, it's a hard 30 days.
Right, and they usually go by once they received it, so that's a matter of changing that paragraph.
Yeah, that's not
So
a problem.
I'll get in contact with them. So, but as far as signing it, who would sign it come May 7th? It's approved by the board.
However the board votes it, you can authorize any staff member to sign it. Once the board's approved it, that's it.
Okay, thank you. And that's all for me, Mayor.
Okay, next thing on the agenda is item A, 300 West Sibley Boulevard Tax Increment Financing District. Trustee Henry.
Thank you. Thank you, residents, for coming out this evening. Pretty much, I put this on the agenda just to get an update to tell you where we are with the TIF district for 300 West Sibley. I will refer this to the attorney to elaborate, and I need to know what do you need from the board to move forward. Attorney Murphy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is it okay with the board if I take a couple minutes just summarizing how we got to this point?
Yes, please, for the record.
This goes back to problems that the owners of 300 West Sibley, everybody knows where that's at, just on our side of the railroad tracks. The problems that the owner had going back to 2010 through 2012, where he claimed that prior administrations of the village refused to allow that property to operate for legitimate uses. A lawsuit was filed in 2014, and we defended the lawsuit. The plaintiff was seeking millions of dollars in damages, and we ultimately worked out what I believe should be a win-win agreement. There are two keys to this settlement agreement, which the board approved back in December of 2016. The first is that this property is drowning in property taxes. No property taxes have been paid in several years. The owner claims that the taxes haven't been paid because of the prior actions of the village back in 2010 to 2012. The reason the taxes haven't been paid result in one reality, that without active intervention from the village, this property will never develop because of all the challenges that it has. Nobody's going to pay even 1 year of taxes to pick up that property. So we've entered into this agreement, and I said at the time, seeing this agreement through as a marathon, not a sprint. Under the terms of the agreement, the first step was for the village to acquire this property using what's called the Cook County no cash bid vehicle. The county, from time to time, allows cities and villages to buy property for free by filing a no-cash bid with Cook County, and the county will approve that. That has occurred. So the Cook County Board has approved the Village of Dolton acquiring title to the property. The next part of the process takes several months, and we're probably in the second or third month of that now. And that is for the village to obtain what's called a tax deed. We've engaged Mr. Kanekar's office and one of the lawyers that works with him to go through this process. It's a technical process, essentially like a foreclosure, where if anybody has a claim on the property, they have to make it. Once that period of time expires, title to the property goes to the village with zero taxes. All the taxes will be wiped out, which makes the property marketable. We then have agreed with the 300 West Sibley people to do two things. One is to create a tax increment financing district. Now, we have 2 or 3 TIF districts in the village, but there hasn't been one created in several years. And essentially what is involved at that is for the village to hire a qualified consultant who will study the property and make a determination whether it is what the law calls blighted. If the property is considered to be blighted based on the consultant's advice, then the village has to undergo what's probably a 4 to 6 month process, including public hearings, notice to all the taxing bodies, to establish this property as a tax increment financing district. What is important to the village for that is that in a TIF district, all of the new property tax revenue from any new development will be utilized, will be captured by the village as opposed to being distributed to all of the taxing bodies and used to provide incentives, hopefully, to an appropriate developer of the property. Our agreement makes it very clear that we have no obligation, once we create the TIF district, to reconvey this property to the owner unless the owner comes forward to us with what we call a suitable anchor tenant, meaning that the village will own the property, that if the previous owner wants this property back, they've got to come up to the village with a firm commitment from a suitable anchor tenant, which our agreement calls a grocery store, a home improvement store, car dealer, or any other large sales tax producer. So the key to this agreement for the village is to get control of the property, eliminate the back taxes, and working with the former owner, bring a good sales tax producer to the village. So the step that we're at now under the settlement agreement is to start this tax increment financing eligibility study and public hearing process. I've obtained a proposal from a company called Kane McKenna, which is one of the 2 or 3 firms in the Chicago metropolitan area that does this work. I've worked with them in other communities. For example, I've worked with them in Hazel Crest and in Richton Park in establishing and monitoring tax increment financing districts. There are a few other firms. We have a proposal from Kane McKenna, so I believe in a wrap-up response to Trustee Henyard's inquiry, we're at the point where we should retain a qualified consultant to do the necessary property studies to determine whether this property qualifies as a TIF district. And of course, we're confident that it does, given the sorry state of that property right now. The board is under no obligation to utilize this particular consultant, but if the board is comfortable with that, we've got a proposal from them and the board can review it, and if the board desires, we can put it on the May 7 agenda. So I'll be happy to answer any questions the board members have, either generally about this property, the deal, or where we're at in what is really a long-term, very important process to the village, because this is a potentially very important piece of property.
I'd like to table this until the committee that's in an item on today's agenda is formed. That's item G on today's agenda. I'd like to table it to that committee.
Robert, there's really nothing to table. This is discussion only.
Okay, well.
I mean, you can refer it to your whatever committee the board wants to.
Okay, and it would be to the committee that we are looking to form.
That's fine, and there's no hard deadline for this, whether the board wants to vote it on the 7th or a following meeting.
Okay.
But it's kind of teeing up to that point in the process.
Attorney Murphy, you and I talked earlier today, and you mentioned again tonight, I think there are 2 or 3 others outside of Kane McKenna. And as I mentioned to you, there was those concerned about doing an RFP to those other 2. Do you think we should do that before our next board meeting so we can have that at least in process so that we know by May 7th that's in process?
I would think that, why don't we get a recommendation from your committee, and then if that appears to be the majority of the board, then the motion for the 7th would be to seek out proposals for TIF consultants for 300 West Sibley.
Well, the challenge with that particular committee hasn't been formed yet, and it's like you said, it's just for discussion. It's item G, as in girl, and by that committee not being formed yet, even if it's formed tonight, no real hard decision could be made because it's only for discussion tonight and a consensus vote.
That's up to the board, Trustee Mohammed, but let me just reemphasize, there's no super hard requirement that you hit something on May 7th. I think the Trustee Henier wanted to know where are we at on this thing. Is it time to move forward? And generally speaking, yes. So
okay.
There's no, May 7th is not a Cinderella date, so if it takes more time, that's fine.
Attorney Murphy, I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yep.
When you talk about new businesses that will be part of that TIF, I'm looking at the car wash that's on Sibley, that's close to the 300 West Sibley. With that also be included in the TIF? It's not such a new business, but it is a new business. You have McDonald's that's been there for a while, and I'm looking at the taxes, the property taxes, and what else is down there? Dunkin' Donuts is down there, so that's approximately 3 businesses. I'm looking at what other prospect we have other than 300 West Sibley land, perhaps, that investors would be interested in that area to be part of the TIF. And is this what the gentleman would do? Investigate that particular area for that TIF, and how far would that TIF be in that particular area?
Under the agreement that we drafted, we have the right to include other properties in a proposed TIF district, in addition to 300 West Sibley. Now, it's got to be contiguous, meaning it's all got to be in one area where the properties are touching each other. Now, I've got to say, I don't know how we could classify McDonald's in and of itself as blighted, because that's a thriving business. But to answer your question, we could draw a map, provided it satisfies this what's called contiguity requirement that includes other properties than just the 300 West, and maybe be in a position to help them too.
Because if my memory serves me, I'm trying to see what other properties that's down there other than 300 West and the new car wash.
Kind of right at the boundary between us and Harvey too, isn't it? It's
Yes.
The boundary kind of zigzags, so.
Yes, and across the street, I believe it might be South Holland. I'm not absolutely sure on that.
Yeah, you're right.
So I'm trying to see exactly what will we benefit. I know 300 West Sibley is a big piece of property.
That would be part of the study.
Yeah. Okay.
But in terms of establishing it, we've got the right to include other properties, not just 300 West.
Quick question, Attorney. What would the cost be ballpark for a consultant to come in to do that?
I think you're generally talking in the $15,000 range. Now, let me add to that. Again, this kind of a project is a marathon and not a sprint. Under let's assume we got this property going and it began producing property taxes, good solid property taxes. The TIF fund would repay our general fund. So, in other words, if we paid for the consultant through our general fund, that money would be, in effect, owed to the general fund from the TIF district. And once the TIF district starts creating property taxes, in a few years, there would be reimbursement from the TIF fund to the general fund. And that, again, that's specifically in the agreement.
Question. Well, really a statement. I would love to see development there at 300 West Sibley. It has been an eyesore for several years. I would like to move forward with this. I don't understand what's the holdup today on developing a TIF. We can pick anyone that we want to move forward with it. If you guys want, we could put it in Finance Committee. I have no problem with vetting anything through, but I don't want to stall. So if you want to put it in Finance Committee, we can definitely have a committee meeting this week if there's any unanswered questions. So I would like to move forward with this. If you guys want, we can have Finance Committee this week. Trustee Muhammad, you chair of Finance.
Let me look at my schedule, because when you say this week, you mean by Friday, correct?
Sure, why not?
Okay, let me look at my schedule, then I'll reach out to yourself and Trustee House.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, next thing on the agenda is the M.E. Simpson leak survey proposal. Trustee House.
Yes, I had a conversation with our superintendent of public works, and he came up with a few things that can help the village to save money. So I want to ask Matt if you would kind of explain what the leak survey proposal is.
Okay, the leak survey we had done back in 2014, and what it is there's a company that comes out and they hook up to the fire hydrants, the water valves, and they listen for water leaks through sound waves. And they can actually pinpoint where the leak is on the main, on a house service, on a fire hydrant, etc. Back in 2014, they came out and it took them, I believe, a month, maybe a little longer than that, and they found that the village was losing 306,720 gallons per day in water, which is a big cost to the village. Once they go through and they pinpoint all the leaks, they put them down on a spreadsheet, they get them to us, and out of the leaks they found in 2014, it was 35 leaks. So we were able to go out, repair the leaks, and save the cost to the village. Anything that was on the, if there was a leak on the homeowner side, the homeowner would have to be responsible for repairing that. They picked up a couple leaks that were close to the house on the residence, which the resident was notified by myself, and the company went out, let them know that there was a leak. So just brought it to talked to the trustee about it, bring it to the board to see if we could go and do another one. I did go out to get a second bid on a company that does it out of Dixon, Illinois, and they are down on manpower right now, so they said they could not assist us with this project. But M.E. Simpson gave us the quote. It was in the packet that the village clerk gave in her agenda. And I also talked with the company from M.E. Simpson, and we were able to break the payments down into 5 payments.
So with that, I just wanted to, because we did discuss going to a couple of different companies to see what the best price was. I think if we can save that kind of money, I would just like to get feedback from the board on if this is something we would consider moving forward on.
Superintendent Stacy, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Per our conversation a couple of days ago or so, you and I talked about the leaks.
Right.
And you stated to me, correct me if I'm wrong, that at the present time, we didn't have any leaks, that all the leaks on that list was fixed?
These leaks on here were leaks that did not surface. Remember I told you that there were some that we found that were draining into the if there's a water main break, sometimes it's not strong enough to come up because water finds the weakest spot. There are times where we found a water main break in the valley. The resident kept complaining about low water pressure on the second floor. We went out there, we checked everything, his water was on. We didn't have a water main break in that area, and the break actually found its way into the sewer. So it didn't even surface, we didn't see it. So this is just to go through the whole town and check for leaks that haven't surfaced.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything further?
Nope, nothing further. I just want to get feedback on if this. Well, I guess I'm not clear whether if this is something we want to move forward with or not.
Nobody seen anything?
I mean, what's the recommendation of the superintendent? I mean,
Like I said, I checked with the other company, they couldn't do it. I would recommend going with M.E. Simpson because they have all of our mapping and everything already. They've been through our town, they've done work through our town. The last time they did it, the estimated cost that we saved when we fixed all the leaks was $557,524. So I would recommend going through, just making sure we're not losing water underground anywhere to where it's going into a sewer, and it's not a big enough leak to surface, and it's not, affecting anybody right now, pressure-wise.
and what was, I don't have it in front of me, but I got it somewhere. What was the initial cost of this service?
The initial cost for the service is $13,875.
And then it's a annual or monthly fee after that? What?
No, this is a one-time, they come out, they go through the whole town in one shot. It's the $13,000, and I spoke to them, and they told us that we could do it in 5 payments if need be.
And they're the only company in Illinois that does this?
They're out of Indiana. The one I called in Illinois, that's in Dixon, Illinois. Like I said, they are short on manpower, and they could not do this project for us at the time.
Matt, did you have a third company that did not respond?
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it, but that was way down south in Illinois. I sent Mary Kay the second one. I didn't see it in the board packet, though.
So, Trustee House, you want to put this on for May 7th for a vote? A
Yes,
formal
sir.
vote? I agree to put it to May 7th for a vote.
I just have a question, Superintendent. What was the name of the company in Dixon?
ADA leak detection. I'd have to
ADA?
get. Yeah, I got to double check on that.
Can you text me the phone number?
Yeah,
And they're in Addison, where?
Dixon, or I believe it was Dixon, Illinois.
That concludes it for me.
Okay. All right.
I'm okay with it going to the May 7 board meeting.
Okay. Next thing on the agenda is Fire Department building. No, I'm sorry, Melody Fitness Center.
Thank you,
Item C.
Mayor.
Trustee Mohammed.
Yes, I have a letter of intent I'd like to read into the record from BOOC, which is the Building Our Own Community, April 16, 2017, to the Honorable Mayor, trustees, department heads, and citizens of Dolton. In a recent article, the Center for Disease Control stated that sitting is the new smoking. In other words, living a sedentary lifestyle is as bad or worse than smoking, and the mortality rate of the former proves this. The Dolton zip code is home to persons who are more likely to die from diabetic complications and heart disease than any place else in the state of Illinois. Additionally, women who acquire breast cancer and men who have prostate cancer are more likely to die from these diseases if they live in southern Cook County. Now, more than ever, Americans need to develop a daily physical fitness regimen just to stay alive. All too often, location becomes a barrier to establishing a dependable and sustainable workout routine. An additional barrier to working out regularly is having lack of access to facilities that are fully resourced and equipped. To this end, our organization, BOOC Inc., submits this informal letter of intent to purchase the Melanie Fitness Center located at 14900 Greenwood Road. Acquiring this facility will allow us to broaden and deepen our capacity to create a healthier Dolton. My wife of over 30 years has been a medical doctor serving the Cook County area for over 18 years. Our organization, BOOC, has been a social service and health information resource since 1999. Currently, BOOC is contracted with the Department of Children and Family Services to provide family advocacy center services for children and families under care. Additionally, BOOC is one of the premier robotics organizations for youth in Northern Illinois. BOOC also operates the Joseph Storehouse Food Pantry, which provides over 31,000 meals to Food Challenge residents annually. Our focus on developing a holistic center with state-of-the-art fitness equipment, a clean and newly renovated pool, and spa area would draw potential members from surrounding suburbs. Our attention to improving the overall atmosphere would make this holistic fitness center the go-to place for seniors and youth alike. Our plans include the development of a nutritious snack, smoothie, and salad counter that would be available to both members and the community at large. This center would be the place to go for those health enthusiasts who yearn for healthy foods in the middle of their workday. Finally, our plans to enhance Zumba, yoga, dance, and aquasize classes would eventually require the expansion of the facility on its south end. It is our intention to purchase the Melanie Fitness Center for a price of $300,000, with $150,000 being paid initially and the remaining balance paid over a period of 18 months. Thank you for the privilege and honor to serve you for the past 15 years at 14200 Chicago Road. Respectfully, Bishop Lance L. Davis, Executive Director. And that's the letter of intent to go into the record. And if we can get a consensus for the sale of the Melanie Fitness Center, I hear from the board, and I, as a trustee, vote yes on this.
My vote is also yes, because we're losing a lot of money down there, and we don't need it to become Dorchester 2, where we make a decision after we've lost millions of dollars. In that case, of the Dorchester. So my vote is yes.
I have a couple of questions, trustee, if you don't mind. The equipment and the physical shape of the Dorchester, Melanie Fitness Center, do you have any knowledge of the shape that the Melanie Fitness Center is in at the present time?
Yes, it's in need of some updates and equipment. I think we have a couple of Melanie Fitness members here. Oh, you work out still, Dan? That's right. Okay. And yes, we're in need of equipment. As you can attest, there are a lot of out-of-order signs that have been on the equipment for months now. So it is in need of repair. The BOOC is very well aware of it. They're going to sink some money into it, by the way. They promised to put about $600,000 into the facility. They're going to build a wing to create a basketball court and a volleyball court also. So there is some updates that need to be made to answer your question, trustee, that the village should be responsible in making. But it's been a cost-prohibitive investment for us for the last, 17 years or so. But there are some cosmetic things that I believe that we can do to bring it up. But they do know that some money has to be put into this facility to get it updated.
And I asked that question because I didn't want to vote to say yes if it's still going to remain in the same condition that it's in. So in that aspect, I'm all for it if they're going to put money back into the facility.
I'm in agreement with it.
I'm okay with the organization. I'm in disagreement with the price. I would like to talk it out. I think it's a negotiation. I think we would like to talk it out in executive session.
Trustee Henry, you got anything?
Well, we have a consensus of 4 votes. Clerk, we'd like to put this on the agenda for May 7th for the formal vote on the BOC and purchasing the Melanie Fitness Center, if you would,
Okay,
Clerk.
Mayor, if I may.
Go ahead, Trustee.
Thank you. As I said before when we were in closed session, the price was too low then, it's still too low now. Trustee House just hinted on that, so I still agree that the price is definitely too low. We may be in debt, but we can't just give away our assets. We have to make some type of money off of it. Currently now that it's way too low. If that's the case, I feel we should just close it down until we get a suitable buyer that can actually bring some type of revenue to the village. Thank you.
If I recall, there was an appraisal for $800,000 for
Yep.
the Melanie Fitness Center in the condition that it's in.
Correct.
And the realtor said if they couldn't get the 800, he could definitely get 500,000 for it speedily. So I think we need to look at, and I support Trustee Henyard's opinion in regards to see if we can get as much as we can for it if the decision is to sell it. And we possibly should sell it because it's costing us about $300,000 a year to subsidize it. So, but I don't think we should just accept this first offer of $300,000 when in fact we got an appraisal for $800,000.
Mayor, if I can too.
Go ahead.
I would really love to ask just the residents during citizens address to provide feedback and input on what your thoughts are, and that's why we, as a board, collectively, we've set up committee of the whole so we can get feedback on these kind of issues. So I'm begging for feedback, please.
Mayor, did I understand you to say there was an offer for 500,000?
No, I didn't say that.
You said that they said
I said
we should be able to get that.
yes.
Okay.
I said there was an appraisal. Correct me, Trustee House.
There's an appraisal that came in at $800,000, and we did meet with the realtor to review the property, and his feedback was that he believed that we should start with the $800,000 as the beginning offer, but he felt by the time we got to $500,000, we should receive an offer for that amount.
Have we had any offers other than the one that we have from the bishop?
No offers at the time, but we have not put it on the market either.
Correct.
And putting it on the market will mean that there is a broker fee, and we continue to pay for it every month that is not sold. So everybody needs to keep one thing in mind. 4 years ago, we tried to sell the Dorchester, and that got voted down, and the residents paid $1 million a year because certain people voted it down instead of going ahead and selling the Dorchester. That was a bad decision, and to not dump sell the Melanie Fitness Center to somebody who wants to buy it is, and my mistake, is a big mistake. And as a taxpayer, I think that we should sell it. I mean, it don't make sense to hold it and then 6 or 7 months down the line, we're still where we are, and we spend another $10,000 to $15,000 a month. Because if we hold it 10 months, $15,000 a month, that's $150,000. If you get it 500, which you might not get, if you get 500, you subtract 150,000 over a 10-month period, and also the broker's fee, and you're right back where you are right now. So everybody should really, really think about this.
It's not going to be a $200,000 broker fee, and we talked about the sale of this Melanie Fitness Center well over a year ago. So this board has procrastinated on getting it out there. But to just say, hey, we're going to give it away for $300,000 and not even attempt to put it on the market is ridiculous. Their broker fee will not, if we sold it for $500,000, the broker fee is not going to be $200,000.
I didn't say 200, Mayor. I said 150 to operate it over 10 months, plus about a $50,000 broker fee, and it'll probably be more than that. That's where the 200 came from.
Put it on the market tomorrow. Put it on the market tomorrow. What's a 30 days test trial to put it out there to see if we can get what it's worth? But if you got a valid appraisal at $800,000, it's ridiculous to try to sell it for $500,000 less.
We had a valid appraisal for the Dorchester. You said of I mean, we did have a valid appraisal, and we sold it a lot less than what it was appraised for.
Whose fault
Because
was-
just because something's
whose fault-
appraised for one price, don't mean you're going to get that price.
Whose fault was
Mayor, if I may.
that? The board voted not to
Man, I
sell it.
voted
Mayor,
to sell it.
Mayor, if I
Well,
may.
I'm just telling you. Go ahead.
I voted to sell it 4 years ago.
If I can, I would like to recommend, and I again say, our bosses are the residents, so I think we would like to get feedback from the residents on this one, and I ask if we can move to the next item if there are no other
Can
comments.
I ask a question
They
before
still
we
in
move to
discussion.
the next item? And that's, Mayor, may I be recognized?
Go ahead, trustee.
And that's why I asked, were there any repairs to the Melody Fitness Center that need to be done? So whoever might purchase it is going to incur another cost of the Melody Fitness Center. In addition to that, talking about the broker, I received an email 2 months ago, and nothing ever else was said about selling the Melody Fitness Center. If I'm not mistaken, Trustee House, that email came from you and Trustee Henyard, and it just died. And nobody else had put it on the agenda, nobody else had said anything about it, and, you know, until it's brought up again today. So we can't afford to lose any more money. So I'm still in agreement to the $300,000.
We just gave Bishop Davis, this board just gave Bishop Davis some property, valuable property in the village of Dolton for free.
It's not true.
What did you give it to him for?
Not true.
Was there any money
I'm
exchange?
not going to go back and forth with you, Mayor.
Was there any money exchange?
It's not true. He just paid $70,000 real estate bill.
Yeah.
I just met with him last week.
Yeah. Well, we gave him that property free. This board awarded him that property for free. That was just a few months ago. Now here you want to give him another piece of property for way under value. And you know, Trustee Muhammad, you always talk about the financial condition that we're in. We can't keep giving the store away.
Mayor, may I say one more thing, please? Because this is an offer.
Okay.
So it's a possibility, can we counter offer?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
That's enough discussion. We're going to move to the next item. Item D, Fire Department Building Fees. Chief Dyer.
Thank you, Mayor. If possible, can I combine D with E?
You can.
Okay. D, Fire Department billing and false nuisance unwanted alarm fees. We already have an ordinance number 13-005, which states it's an ordinance establishing fees in connection with certain services provided by the Dolton Fire Department. So this ordinance was approved on the 17th day of June 2013. It was 5 yeas and 1 absent. So this ordinance is already approved. We want to make an amendment to that ordinance. If you flip to Exhibit A, the scheduling of fees, number 3, Roman numeral number 3, we want to add the word nuisance. And I'm going to explain the difference between false and nuisance alarms. A false alarm is an activation of any fire alarm system not caused by heat from fire, smoke from fire, or fire, and results in a response of the fire department. A nuisance fire alarm is an activation of any fire alarm system caused by mechanical failure, malfunction, improper installation, lack of proper maintenance, or any other undetermined cause of activation resulting in the response of the fire department. So the reason why we believe that false and nuisance and unwanted alarms need to be in this ordinance is because false and nuisance alarms take away firefighters from real emergencies. It can desensitize the community to actual fire incidents that lead to neighbors ignoring the sounding alarm, may make you reluctant to use your fire alarm system, thus exposing your family or your home and facility to fire and property damage, and it also costs the citizens time and money. So that's the first thing we want to do, amend Roman numeral number 3. We also want to take out Roman numeral number 5. That's EMS calls. We're not equipped to bill for EMS calls. we provide a BLS service, and we shouldn't be doing EMS calls, so we want to take that out. If you flip the page, I have additional recovery. Some of the things that are already on this exhibit A is car fires, structure fires, repeated false alarms, water rescue, and we want to also add motor vehicle accidents, air ambulance, hazardous conditions, and special conditions. And the prices that we put on this page, they can be changed, but I got this from the place called Fire Recovery. They did a study, I believe in 2015, and in 2015 we gave them our numbers: motor vehicle accidents, vehicle fires, false alarms, fires, hazardous conditions, and they totaled up to $180,000, and we would have received 144 of that. So they take about 20% of the income back from the billing. Sherry Britton, my executive assistant, she was doing the billing on her own, and I have some copies of some of the stuff she billed for, if anybody would like to look at it, because she did do some of the billing when we were doing it. Like I said, this has been in place since 2013, and we just haven't been enforcing it. So we'd like to make those changes and start enforcing it.
I got a question.
Go ahead,
For
trustee.
Thank you. Structure fire. For a Dolton resident, say 500, Exhibit A?
Yes, this was
Okay.
already passed and approved. This ordinance is already passed and approved
Right.
in 2013.
Right, so you want to keep this number the same? I'm only asking because Dolton resident 500, a non-resident 300. So I was just trying to understand.
I wasn't trying to make any changes to any dollar amounts.
Okay.
Only thing I wanted to take out was the EMS calls and add a few things. But as far as the dollar amounts, like I said, it was already passed. And
Right.
if someone else, I mean,
Yeah, can we reverse those fees? Are you in agreements with that I'm trying to understand why the Dolton resident for structure fire is higher than a non-resident. And then what is a non-resident? I'm trying to understand that
well,
for a fire. I thought that any fire in Dolton, you're a Dolton resident, no?
well, back in 2013 when they passed it, Brown, Hinyard, Hunt, Pearson, and Smith, for those reasons,
Right, but I'm
$500,
asking.
$500, I'm not sure why. In 2013, that's what it was, and I wasn't trying to make any changes. I was just trying to enforce what we have here and add a few things.
Do you
If
remember?
there needs to be a change to the dollar amount, that's
Changing it, switching it up.
someone else.
Okay, well, my recommendation would be to reverse them, because I'm trying to understand the Dolton resident paying $500 for a structure fire, and then the non-resident is paying $300 for a structure fire, which I don't know who qualifies as a non-resident. I guess that's more my question. So why is it $300? I guess.
You know, I would suggest that between now and tonight is just a consensus vote, between now and May 7th, put it on the agenda with in agreement with the changes that you like, and then review the amount for the non-resident and the resident.
We can review all the prices if they want.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't set the prices. This was already in action, like I said, so
Right.
we can review all this stuff if you think it's,
All right, thank you.
Right, I think this was at the time, Chief Hughes put this together, and it looks like to me the Dolton resident of $500 was a one-shot bill, and the non-resident, which I don't know if we ever billed for going out on Mavis to help other
Right.
communities, but that was per engine, where the resident was a one-time bill. So if 3 Dolton vehicles responded to another community, it might have been that would have cost $900, but we can talk about it and look at the numbers and change them to satisfy the board.
Any further?
I agree with your proposal, Chief Dyer, and I say we move it to May 7th for the formal vote. But one last comment, the reason why non-resident is more, if you look at it, they actually pay more, because if you're talking about per hour, the total number of persons responding, that 300 easily gets up past $500 depending on the manpower for that particular structure fire. But again, I agree that we should take this to May 7th for a formal vote.
no further, we'll move on to the next one.
Thank you.
Item F, home daycare ordinance number 13-005.
And that's a wrong ordinance number I sent in, I believe, Mayor. The ordinance number on that was 14-026.
Why don't we table this then, and then so we can, I don't know if
That's up to Chief Dyer.
everybody clearly read
No,
it.
we don't want to table this because this come to committee more than one time. I think we should get a consensus tonight, especially if this generating revenue for our village. Did you want Scott to do the presentation on this, Chief, or you, Dyer?
Well, we had an ordinance in place at one time. It was 14-026, and it was repealed 15-005. We just wanted to know if we were thinking about putting it back in place. So,
Well, again, you got some residents that weren't here at our committee meeting, and they're hearing this for the first time. I don't know if you or Scott wanted to kind of just do an overview of this ordinance so everybody can know exactly what it is you're trying to do.
okay, Scott can give his presentation.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Scott French. I'm a lieutenant with the Dolton Fire Department. Back on June 13th, or June 3rd of 2013, myself and one other members responded to a call of a unresponsive one-year-old not breathing at a home daycare. Young man's name was Aiden Carter. When I pulled up, got out, I had one daycare worker on the driveway screaming and crying, and the other one sitting on the floor in the entry screaming and crying while the baby was laying on the floor. I immediately administered CPR and moved the child out to the ambulance when the ambulance got here. Part of the problem, part of this stems from the fact that these daycare workers by state law are supposed to have CPR cards, and neither one did. So that's where this stems from. Trustee Pearson had made mention when we were talking about the HBO documentary that if that documentary has an opportunity to save one life or keep one of our members in the community out of prison, then I think it's worth it. There's no question in my mind if we can save one child's life, it's abundantly worth it. DCFS is overwhelmed. They're understaffed. They are to be inspecting these daycares once a year. They don't get to it. And that's the premise of this ordinance. It's the safety of the children in this town. And it's the safety of the employees who work with these people, who work in these daycares, to prevent anything like this from ever happening again. One of the reasons this resonated with me is because at the time when this young man was 1 year old, my son was 2 years old. And it stuck with me for a long time, and it was, you know, when you have stuff like this, it resonates with you. And I made this an important mission of mine to get this done for this community, and that's what this is about. Does the board have any questions for me?
I think it's important to stress that you mentioned something about DCFS being overwhelmed and they're not really able to enforce regulations that have been set down by the state.
They attempt to get out once a year, but to be, as I said, they're overwhelmed and understaffed. And you know, it's things that we're looking for are simple. We're checking for smoke detectors, operational carbon monoxide detectors, stairwell railings intact, the little plastic covers that cover the outlets so the children don't stick anything in the outlets. We're looking for clear access and egress. If you choose to use the basement as part of your business, that's your prerogative, but you need to have appropriate escape route for that as well. So those are some of the things we'd be looking for.
If I might make a statement, just like during inspection time for the property owners and our inspectors come out and make sure that we have operable smoke detectors, make sure that we have fire extinguishers, and make sure everything else is working in our units, then I think it's a good idea, especially if you can save a child's life. I know at one time we had talked to all of the home daycare individuals, and their concern was they wasn't getting paid from the state. but now the state is paying, and you can't put a price on a child's life.
Correct.
So I'm all in favor of it.
I concur. I think it should go to a formal vote on May 7th.
I agree.
Trustees, any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Dennett. Okay, next thing on the agenda is Committee for Business Approval. Trustee Stubbs.
I'm looking for a consensus today for a committee to be formed for approval of businesses to come into our community that the trustees have an input. I believe it was a month ago. As I was coming home, I saw all of these bright lights on Sibley. The lights were coming from Smokies. So I turned around and I went inside Smokies. And it was amazing. The guys in there didn't know that I was a trustee. They thought I was just a customer. In there, you could purchase illegal cigarettes. I know because I bought a pack. He asked me, they sell cigarettes, did I want to buy a pack? I'm like, yeah. The cigarettes were from Indiana. I informed Trustee Pearson, who's the chairperson for the police department, and he informed Chief Collins, and it was unbelievable when I went in there. I also took pictures while I was in there. You could buy some pills. The guy told me that they do everything but make you hallucinate. And I might be pronouncing the word wrong. It's called hookers, all type of pipes, drug paraphernalia that's in our community. I recall that strip mall being the bi-level lounge. At that particular time, the residents on Beachview were complaining about the shooting when it was the bi-level lounge. They were talking about the people running through their yard, and I had a meeting at my house and invited all the residents and the mayor at that particular time. And it was a concern for their safety. During the time that I was in this store, Smokies, you had guys in there, girls in there, young people sagging pants, and this is not the type of thing that I would like to see in my community. On the other hand, it's a gentleman that's sitting in the audience that came up here and gave a presentation for a reliable business on Woodline Avenue, New Republic, where he could file taxes and teach that young lady that's sitting next to him. Can you stand up, please? She talked about being an entrepreneur and how she liked working, teaching young people how to become entrepreneurs. And this business, for some strange reason, I don't know why, was turned down after, to my understanding, doing all the proper things to open up a reliable business, and they were unable to do so. So I don't understand what the problem is. Is it because of association or what? I don't know. And so therefore, I think this needs to be looked at, and the trustees should have a say-so of what type of business come into our community along with the residents. Young lady, I thank you for standing up, because I recall Trustee Henyard agreeing with you also and being an entrepreneur, because she's a young entrepreneur, you know, and I don't know why you guys wasn't able to open, but it's unfortunate that this smoke shop, they sell illegal cigarettes, they sell loose cigarettes, I'm not telling you what somebody told me, I'm telling you what I know because I purchased them. Notwithstanding, they was also out there on a Saturday, myself and another trustee went over to that store. They had their nice little wood out. They were billing without a permit. I informed the building department on that Monday that they was over there billing something inside the store without a permit, and Mr. Johnson politely went over there, did his job, and shut them down until they came in here and got the necessary permits that they needed to bill. So I believe that all of the trustees, along with the residents, should have a say-so on what type of business come into our village. Thank you.
I agree with you. Can I be recognized, Mayor?
Go ahead.
I agree with you, Trustee. I think of communities like South Holland, Winnetka, Evanston, who have these same types of committees. That's probably one of the reasons why we have an overabundance of gaming houses, payday loans, and the smokies. My understanding is that they come right up to the line before they get to an illegality. I mean, I was told, and I haven't been in there yet, they have a imitation marijuana pill that you can take. It's legal, but I'm sure there are side effects to that. And if you follow any of these stories recently, you had people who smoked marijuana bleeding from the eyes, the ears, and the nose. They found that they're putting rat poison in a lot of this stuff. They found the culprits of that. But I agree with Trustee Stubbs that we got to have a committee, that these committees can come to us as a board, part of their approval, because we don't want businesses that are sincere that come in here to do tax preparation, and yet they are thwarted on their efforts. The young people that are sitting here now, they got their business license, they paid the fines, they actually went to court, and the court was, I believe, continued. And the brunt of their money they make is between February and, I believe, by April. And as we know, this is the last day, I believe, this is the last day of filing taxes, and I think you can get an extension, 17th, and tomorrow. And they have been out of business since February, the first week of February, till as we speak now. They paid all of the fines, they paid all of the fees, but they're boarded up and given no reason. But yet we have another business that just opened up, didn't have a license. They were told to get their license. They went and got the license, and they stayed open. You got a sign on the front door that says 18 and over. Whenever I get my Subway sandwich, I'm seeing much less than 18 years and over in that place. Selling illegal cigarettes. And I understand they're also selling Lucy's, from my understanding. Is that correct, Trustee?
Yes, they're selling Lucy's also, and I don't know who's regulating the pills. You know, I don't know what kind of pills they are that our kids are buying.
This is just an attempt from me approving businesses to come in town. Smokies. Well, first I'm going to say, Trustee, I would think that if you bought some illegal cigarettes and there was an illegal action taken, I would call the police first, not Trustee Pearson. And not only that, I talked to the police chief. What was the delay of Trustee Pearson notifying the police chief? I think it was a day or two later.
No, it wasn't.
When was it?
The same day.
Okay. Well, what was the reason for calling? I don't understand that. I don't. You know. Second, let me finish. Secondly, prior to them getting the license to open it up, I checked the legality of everything that they did. You have the hookah store in Tinley Park. There's one in Orland. There's in Bridgeview. I've checked the legality of everything before I allowed them to open up. And the landlord there, the owner of the strip mall, is an attorney. And I had a lengthy conversation with them in regards to the legality of what was going on there. Now, you want to bring up this young man, this young lady in regards to opening up the tax place. When they made the presentation, first of all, Trustee Muhammad said, we're opening up a new business in town. Called the young man up, and who I believe is related to you, called the young man up, said he was opening up a new business. And at that meeting, He said he had opened up. I said, have you applied for your license yet? And he said, no, we're going to do that. But even prior to that night, they had opened up and were doing business here. Okay, say you didn't. Say you didn't. But prior to you even getting the license, applying for a license, you had opened up for several days, because not only did I see it, Trustee House called me up and said, Mayor, do you know that they're running a business? There was nothing about being spies. Trustee House called me up and said, Mayor, do you know they're operating a business over there? Have they got a license yet? I said, not to my knowledge. At that point, just like Trustee Stubbs thought there was some irregularity going over the other place, I thought there was some irregularity going over. I had sent the inspectors over, and inspectors found out that you were operating there without a license. All I'm just saying, you didn't have a license. Then there was some tickets issued. You came in, you paid the tickets. Then upon further inspection, we found out that the lease that you had submitted was a residential lease on a commercial piece of property. So we called to verify it, our licensing permit person, and the signature on the lease was from James, I can't pronounce his last name, who his wife confirmed that he couldn't have signed it because he's been out of the country since August. Well, all I'm just saying, she did all the verification. Then, sometime later, a couple of weeks later, you brought in a commercial lease that was signed by a representative for him. She says, Mayor, he's brought this in, but there's still some outstanding bills on the property. Now, I said, well, what do you do at this point? She said, those outstanding bills have to be paid before we give them a business license. Is that correct, Denise?
I'm not sure.
Okay. So at any rate, that's what she told me, and that's where we're at.
Give them a chance to defend themselves on the mic. Hold on.
I can't see. I'm just going by verification by the permit.
Can you talk in the mic, because I can't hear what you're saying?
Citizens.
Let's do this as citizens address.
No, this is part of Committee for Business Approval.
That has nothing to do with
I'm
this.
just asking the young lady to go to the mic.
Okay,
She
go
was
ahead,
saying
go
something,
ahead.
and I couldn't hear.
I just want to say business was not regulated in that place. We were preparing, painting, prepping, like no business, no revenue was earned out of that place before we got a business license. We had to take the necessary steps to get the place up to par for us to do business. So you might have seen traffic in and out, but they were just workers helping us prepare the place for opening until we got our license approved. Our license was submitted weeks and weeks and weeks, and we still haven't heard nothing, just like we haven't heard anything.
Well, when the
from you
tickets
yet.
were issued, why didn't you explain that to the inspectors?
Because the court date was so far out that we only have a span of time to do business. So we will pay whatever it is, because we felt as though you were combining personal with business, your own personal relationships, and holding it against us. So if we had to pay small fees to get our business and help the community, we're training, teaching people how to do taxes and credit repair free of charge. We're not in it to make money.
I applaud that, but all I'm saying is I went with the recommendations and the information I received from the inspector and from our permit supervisor.
And if you talk to the inspector, it's paint gallons, and it's no way we can do business out of there. The place is a mess right now. So the only thing that we were doing inside of that place was trying to prepare it so that we can do business. The walls are all type of colors. How are we doing business out of a place that looked that way? Did you take the time to go look at the place yourself?
I don't inspect buildings.
Did you see any traffic, any business going in and out of there yourself?
Trustee House?
He's seen people.
He called me.
Oh.
No, I just saw the signs changed.
Oh, okay.
So I saw the signs changed, and I was curious whether or not there was a business license.
Which is preparation
If I may.
for a business to start. We can't wait until the day you say, okay, you can start to go order a sign, which takes weeks and weeks to get prepared and made. We have to move as the business people that put the lights up. That's not something that someone can do that same day or week or month. So just because the lights got changed doesn't mean we were doing business, Mayor. And we weren't doing business, honestly. Not a dollar was made, not a penny. We put a lot of money into that place, thousands of dollars, and weren't able to make any money. It's not like we're charging people to teach them how to do this thing. We do this for free. We give scholarships to the community. We teach people how to do credit repair, tax preparation, financial literacy, how to reinvest their money into something positive instead of buying clothes. I'm 23 years old. I have over 6 figures in my bank account. And I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying that I want to teach my sisters and brothers to do the same thing. And we came up here over 7 times trying to see what was the hold up on the license, and we couldn't get an answer out of him. And when we did meet with him, he didn't have anything to say. He just turned this around. And we still have
I met with this young man, how long? How long did I meet with you? How long did I meet with you downstairs?
Why don't you go to the microphone so we can record this? We're not hearing you up there, so that everybody can see this.
If we can, I think that
The mic.
my thing was just having a business license. I think that it is incumbent on everybody to sit down and come up with something. And for your efforts to get a business, I think it should be done expeditiously.
And we were willing to accommodate the mayor and the wishes of the city on every turn, but on every turn and every excuse, he moved the goalposts and held the files in his office. This is why I think transparency need to be where the board members can get involved in deciding and approving a business, because I couldn't even get access to the files for just to get copies and records because the mayor had the files. And the clerk was saying that I don't have your files here and I don't have records and copies of your paperwork because the mayor has it. The mayor has it. And this went on for weeks and weeks and weeks. This is ridiculous. I mean, if you run in a one-horse town and you're comfortable with that, that's fine. If you don't want to look at progress and look at the fact that where there's financial literacy in the community, you see empowerment in terms of economic security, you see less crime in the community, you see more jobs and everything. It just helps the overall health of the community, not dealing with drugs and all of that stuff. We're getting a high on a natural high. This young lady is 23 years old. I found her 3 years ago, barely coming out of college. And she is doing amazing things. I have seen people like her by the tens and thousands.
Thank you.
All over the country, and we want to do it with Dolton.
Thank you. I wish you was honest about what you're talking about, because I met with you for well over an hour in the office downstairs. I told you all the requirements that the young lady told me, our supervisors told me that you needed. You want to talk about everything else but what you needed. Not only that, Chief of Police went on with the inspector over there for the inspection. Chief.
On the day that we discovered that a business might possibly not have a business license, I personally went with the building inspector and also the code enforcement officer, and when we got there, there were customers inside the building and tax preparations were being made. We asked the staff if they would ask them to leave so that the business could be shut down.
Thank you. No further. We're going to move on.
That's the difference between
this is your
We're going to move on. Trustee Stubbs.
Okay.
Thank you.
I want to thank you all, and that's the reason why I would like for the trustees to have an input in what kind of business come into our community. And to my knowledge, you guys have complied. I still don't understand why the paperwork is being, yes, I do. Take that back. I know why it's being held on to it. But this is not personal. This is about the community that I live in.
So you calling?
Excuse me, Mayor.
You calling the police chief is being untruthful?
Excuse me, Mayor. Excuse me. I said that I believe they have complied since that period of time, just like other businesses in this community that have not complied with the ordinance, and they came in, they paid a fine, they received their license, with the exception of, I don't know what's going on with the place across the street, but I'm not going to get into that tonight. And therefore, that's why I'm asking for a consensus from the trustees to put this in place, a planning committee, so we can have an input on what coming into our town, along with the residents, so you could tell us what you would like to see in your town that you have been living in here for 30 years or better. So I'm looking for a consensus
Well-
tonight to put on the agenda for May 7th.
Well, you have my consensus,
You have
because I
mine
think we
also.
definitely need to have a say-so of what comes in this community. And Mayor, I'm not trying to take your power or your right to decide what comes in. I'm just saying that we would like to have some input, because I don't think that that place would have been able to open up in most communities. And everybody that I know that goes in there is just appalled and surprised to go in and see all that. I call it drug paraphernalia. I don't know what everybody else calls the big hookahs. Nobody buys it to go home and smoke tobacco in it. Everybody knows what hookahs
I think you need to go to some
Everybody knows what they're being sold to do.
other communities that I think you think of highly of, and take a look at, you know, I'm not gonna say anything else.
Thank you.
I want to get to
Okay,
this.
you have my consensus also, Trustee Stubbs, that we should form this committee for business approval, and this removes the politics out of it, because it was mentioned earlier about my relationship to the owner of the business and why that was stated. But this is a legitimate business, unlike the one across the street that you referred to, that we won't mention at this meeting. That's in the Tribune that just came out today. But we should have a committee to approve businesses such as South Holland and other entities have, to have a decent business that comes into our town, because we're sorely in need of revenue, whether it be through sales tax or any type of usury tax, to add to our general account. So I welcome this type of business with New Republic and any other legitimate business, but I'm definitely against any kind of business that's selling any kind of drug paraphernalia, or a business that has an illegal license or no license. So you have my vote for the Committee for Business Approval, Trustee Stubbs.
It's been hard to get businesses to even come here with some of the board members, the way they have conducted themselves and made it prohibitive.
You ought to quit, Mayor.
Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? Can I finish? And that's the honest to God truth.
You have to take a look at yourself
That's
too.
that's the
You
honest
can't
to God
point a
truth.
finger
That's the honest to
at
God truth.
us and not point one at yourself.
That's the honest to God truth.
Okay, you know what? I'm not gonna do this with you tonight.
Thank you.
Okay, but take a look at yourself.
But I can tell you.
Okay, take a look at yourself.
I can tell you that there was no license issued to that business. The police chief was in there doing an inspection, and he told you exactly what he saw and asked the people to leave. So if that's not conducting business without a license, then what is?
The hookah store did not have license either. Smokies, when I went in there, they didn't have any license either.
They have a
I
license.
looked, they probably have it now.
They had it
Because you
then.
have a tendency of
They
giving
had it
it to
then.
them after the fact, just like the other store
Mackey's.
on Mackey's that didn't have any license, and Wilma's didn't
not
have
true.
any license.
That's not true.
But that is true, Mayor. But I know,
I'ma
you
tell-
know,
Okay. Okay.
NPC, Mayor,
You gonna find-
NPC.
You're gonna find out.
Okay, NPC. Thank you.
You're gonna find out. You just said something you shouldn't have said. We're gonna move to the next thing.
Okay.
All right, Department of Operations, Trustee Stubbs.
All right, Department of Operations. Residents, April to the 11th, I had a committee meeting with Trustee Pearson and Trustee Muhammad and the residents, along with Superintendent Stacy. We talked about several things that particular day. Just want to pull this up real quick. Oh, this is great. We talked about, and matter of fact, Department of Operations is, Public Works is included in that. And I didn't know if a lot of the residents were aware, when we have committee meetings and it state that it's Department of Operations, that's Public Works. We talked about the dumping in the recycle center, and I asked Superintendent Stacy to bring information tonight about cameras, because it's constantly being used as a dump site over there on Greenwood, and we have to pay a lot of monies to have that debris moved. So I was I hope you have some information for me tonight.
I have a copy of one at the office. I'm waiting for the other one. The guy came out today to take a look at it and set everything up. And the third guy wasn't able to make it out until tomorrow. So I will email you all three tomorrow after I speak with the last guy.
Thank you. And we would like to put cameras up there and get a consensus on the cameras at our dumps, at our recycle center, because they're using it as a dump site. And that's investors, whomever, drywall, you name it, they are throwing stuff there. And then we have to get Homewood Disposable to come out, bring a dumpster, and pay to remove all of the debris that they have put over there. So we was hoping to get some cameras up there with the board's consent, so we could possibly see the cars, the trucks coming in there dumping, so we can give them the proper ticket. That's one thing that we talked about. Another thing, we talked about tree trimming, and we suggested when your water bill come out, because your water bill come out in zones. If your account number begin with a 1, you're in zone 1. If your account number begin with 2, you're in zone 2 and 3. So therefore, perhaps we might be able to put something with the consent of the board into your water bill to let you know what zone, if it's feasible, and if it's not an emergency and your trees need to be trimmed, to put it in the zone in your water bill to let you know what day or week your trees will be cut. We also talked about potholes, and I'm going pretty fast here. We talked about potholes. We talked about cold patches, hot patches, and if I'm not mistaken, Superintendent Stacy, you stated to me that hot patches will be done, the material will be available at the end of this month, and you'll begin filling up holes with the hot patches, because hot patches last longer and it's more costly than cold patches.
Yes, correct.
Clean up debris in the village, not limited to the alley. I asked him about the debris that's located in the alleys also, because that still need to be monitored. I asked about cleaning up the village, and I'm going to include SWAP in this one, and that's number 5. And he stated to me that SWAP come out once a week, on a month, once a month, I'm sorry, that would be nice, once a month on Mondays. And SWAP also come from the Department of Corrections, where the sentenced inmates come out here and pick up trash with Superintendent Stacy and the rest of the guys from the Public Works, and we talked about the different areas. So they will be out next month, and we trying to get them out at least twice a month, if feasible. And he stated also that he rides through the alleys along with his John, which is the other supervisor, take pictures of things that's going on in the community. Vehicle maintenance. Our vehicle maintenance bills are so high, it's ridiculous. So I asked Superintendent Stacy about how many guys did he have in Public Works that could fix on our vehicles, changing the oil, rotating tires, you know, things that they can handle that's in the scope of their career. He also stated to me he only have 1 mechanic and a half. That's his assistant. So we told him, because of his numbers are down in Public Works, and we presently have a hiring freeze, and we have to take a look at it, and what the contract state, we'll get back with him on that. Water main breaks and restoring parkways. That, again, that go to the hot and cold patches. He can put the rocks down. We asked him about the system that he used to restore the parkways, and instead of just leaving a sign up there. And he also enlightened me that it have to do with the hot patches. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that so maybe they can understand what we're talking about?
With
Please.
the water main break repairs, any water main breaks that are torn up in the street, any curbing taken out sidewalk, we're coming into the season now. We've got in contact with the concrete people. I've spoke to representatives at Gallagher Asphalt. The plant should be opening up sometime next week. And what we'll do is we'll go through. Usually we do the concrete work first because it takes time to set up. Then we'll move into putting the hot patch down, and then we'll go in and finish up with the dirt, seeding it, and putting the hay grass over it. So that's how it all works. So as soon as the asphalt company gets moving, then we'll get it all. It goes in steps.
Thank you. Water turnoff. I talked with not only Superintendent Stacy, but I spoke with Barbara over in the water department, and she stated to me, once your bill is $400 behind, that's when you get a turn-off notice. You know, and we've had some issues with the water department, and we are actually communicating. I've been communicating with Matt. He's been communicating with me once a month, or I'm sorry, once your zone come out, then Superintendent Matt Stacy receives also turn-off notices if you're behind on your bill, if you received a red notice. And we are also talked about waters that shouldn't been turned off and should be turned off. So we've been keeping up with each other, and I want to thank you for all your emails. That's all I have. Anybody that'd like to chime in?
I have a question, and again, thank you, Superintendent Stacy, for the, I think it's 2 or 3 emails you sent concerning what you said at the committee meeting. When they send you to a location, you got to go back. Does the new department head know about those errors that occur when you send those to the trustees?
Yeah, we spoke the other day on that, and he is aware of what's been going on with some of the back and forth that we have to do. So, yeah, we have been keeping them in the loop.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, you said the new department head? We've got somebody over the water department now? We got
Yes,
somebody?
which I was going to introduce.
Okay.
Yeah. After this next item. Trustee Pearson, next item is increase the amount of the estimated water bill.
Okay. Before I get started, let me say that this is not an increase in the water rate. This is not an increase to increase anybody's bill. What this is I have a lot of residents come and talk about they get estimated bills for months and months, and the estimate is below the usage. So when they finally get a accurate reading, all of a sudden they get a bill for $300-400, and they already used the water, but they're used to that low estimated bill. And so I think the board understands that for a long time, because residents come and say, I've been paying $57 for 10 months, and now all of a sudden I got a bill for $500. Well, that minimum bill, estimated bill, is just not accurate. And I think that the board should, or the water department should take a look at everybody's bill. And if you can really figure it out based on normal usage. So if I'm using $150 worth of water, but now all of a sudden they can't read my meter and they start billing me at 57, and I know I was using 150 per billing cycle, but now they're billing me 57 because they can't get to my meter. So when they finally do read my bill, all of a sudden I got a $500 bill. So I think the board should look at it to see if the minimum estimated bill needs to be raised. And again, that's not a raise in the water rate. So I don't want everybody running out here saying Trustee Pearson's trying to raise our water bill. No, that's not what it is.
Not what it is.
Because if we do nothing about it, we're still going to have the complaints from the residents that get the low estimated bill. Whenever they get a reading, they're going to complain about it.
Trustee Pearson, may I?
Yes.
Barbara and myself have also talked about including a letter in the water bill. I don't think I have one, to show the residents what zone they live in, and your account number tell what zone you're in. If your account number begin with a 1, you're in zone 1. Do you have one? I don't have a copy here with me today, but you can pick one up from the water department. That's how your bill is distributed. And if you're not home, you can always look at the calendar. It looks just like this. And it have the different zones. It have the different dates in which your bill come out. And you can also call it in 2 weeks before your bill is due, your reading. You can call it in, you can phone, you can fill out the yellow card, bring it in, and that will determine how much your bill is by reading your own meter, and you won't have an estimated bill. So this is the schedule. If you're in zone 1, it'll tell you zone 1 real quickly. Zone 1, your bill is due March. In March, it comes out for December, January, and February, June, March, April, and May, September, June, July, and August, December, September, October, November. Zone 2 is October, January is for October, November, December. April is for January, February, March, July, so on and so forth. And perhaps you can pick this up at the water department, and it will definitely tell you when your bill come out, and you can do your own reading and send it in 2 weeks before your bill is due. Thank you.
Is there a consensus on the increase that Trustee Pearson's want for the estimated water bill?
I concur.
Trustee Henry, did you have something?
Yeah, I do. I didn't understand what that had to do with Trustee Pearson was talking about.
I agree. I don't understand either, but
I'm not for an increase on the residents. You guys cannot afford that currently. We need to get our water department in line first before we talk about increasing anything. So it's a no for Trustee Henry.
Mayor, could I speak again?
Go ahead, Trustee.
You know, to sit up here and say I was trying to raise the water rates is really sad. That nobody steps up to the plate and says we need to straightening out our paperwork is the problem. We're giving people false bills, and it's not to their consumption. And we need to stop it. We need to give them a bill. If we're not going to read the meter, then we need to give them a bill that's closer to what their usage is. And that's not what we're doing. And nobody comes up here with an answer to anything. It's
let me.
And Mayor, you're just as wrong. You're sitting there like I'm trying to raise the rates. You know that's not what I'm doing here. And you sit here and listen to these residents come up and complain about estimated bills for 10 months. Somebody came up and say they've had one for years.
Trustee, if you recall, several months ago last year, I had a meeting with the water meter readers. They told me that they needed help reading meters. Now, we have over 50%, it's even a higher percentage of our meters that are not being read. The residents have been given estimated bills. So my proposal was last year to hire 7 water meter readers part-time so we could catch up with these estimated bills and get accurate bills out here. And then when we do get accurate bills, and the resident has been given a bill that was lower, and they get the actual reading, and sure, they're in shock because it's much higher than what the usage was. But this board voted down last year to hire those 7 water meter readers, it was in August. I wanted to get them trained prior to winter coming and get maybe some accuracy in reading the meters. And the board voted them down.
Man, you know why they voted it down.
Why did they vote it down?
Because we didn't have the money. Because we don't have the money today. That's why we owe Chicago $8 million, because we take money out of the water fund and put in a general fund, and you want to keep hiring people.
What do you mean? What do you mean I want to keep hiring people? So you're telling me that it doesn't make sense to hire people to get the accurate readings from these water meters, so the people can have. And here's the other thing: if we had the accurate readings, we probably wouldn't even have to raise the estimated water bill.
So what would happen, Mayor, if you got caught up with 7 people?
Are you
saying that would eliminate estimated bills?
No.
If it's not going to eliminate estimated bills, then we're going to have this same problem going on and on like we've had the last 5 or 6 years.
It's not the fact that it would eliminate estimated bills. It's the fact that we would have a lower reduction in estimated bills.
But what's it going to help?
What do you mean, how's it going to help?
Because if I'm still getting an estimated bill, if I'm one of the people in that lower reduction and I'm still getting an estimated bill and paying $57 every month, but I'm using $150 worth of water, every billing cycle, how's that going to help me?
So you're telling me that by hiring other water meter readers so we can get more than 50% of our bills meters read is not a good idea.
That ain't what I told you.
But what you're saying is that just let it go, raise the estimated water bill, but we're still going to get over 50% of the bills that's not meters that's not read.
That ain't what I said.
If we would have got caught up with those additional meter readers, at least we would be a lot more ahead of where we should be. But right now we're at the same situation.
Mayor, I was trying to help a situation where residents come to trustees and talk about their estimated water bill. This is your village. Run it how you want to run it. If you don't think we need to raise the minimum
how I want to run it
bill, then that's what you do.
How would you suggest getting accuracy on the water meter readers then, on the meters? How would you suggest getting accuracy?
I'm not one of your department heads, man. That's not my job.
How would you suggest getting accuracy?
That's your job.
I just tried to do it and you voted against it.
That's your job, Mayor.
Mayor, can I be recognized?
Go ahead.
I just gave you the answer.
What was that?
Let the residents know when a bill is due. At the present time, and I spend a lot of time talking to residents and next door talking to Barbara. The bills are actually caught up. The readings are caught up.
No, they're not. I just went through them last week.
I just spoke to her a few days ago, and she told me, well, I'll ask her to give it to me in writing because she told me that it was caught up.
The readings are not caught up.
And if a person is not at home, you still not getting in. If you had 100 meter readers, if the individuals are not at home, or if the individuals are seniors and are afraid to open their door, don't know who's at their door, then you still not going to have all your readings.
There's no way.
But if you give them a schedule like this one right here, let them know when their reading is due. They can actually fill out the card themselves, send it in, phone it in, and then some seniors can't see. I've had them to tell me they can't see the water, the numbers on the meter to read it. And they can also call in and have them come out to their homes and read their meter on the days that they're at home.
Well, the policy that you just mentioned has been in place for years, and it hasn't worked.
It wasn't explained to the people. You have to explain to them how it's worked. Everybody that I talked to had no idea on their account number being their zone number. They didn't know when their bill was due. So sometimes it's about education. If you educate the people on when their bill is due.
All right, can I get a consensus on this increase?
If I can make a comment, Mayor.
Go ahead, Trustee.
I did want to kind of double back. I recognize that Trustee Pearson is not attempting to raise the water bill, but to go to the to get a reading that is a little bit closer to accurate. I think my opinion is that I'm more in agreement with raising just the estimated bill, because I think it can be daunting if a resident gets a $56 bill for a whole year and a half, and then gets shocked with a $700 bill. That being said, again, I'll go back to this being committee of the whole, and I'll really seek feedback from the residents, because that's the direction that we need to take.
And I'm in agreement with Trustee Pearson too, because nobody wants to get estimated bill at a lower amount than their bill really is. Then they have, they come out here and they have fits at the water department.
Okay.
Spend time over there at the water department.
And Mayor, I have just a statement. The problem is not raising the minimum. He has to fix the problem in the water department, which is getting an accurate reading. So I don't understand about us raising the minimum, how that's helping the situation. We have to fix the problem, which is going out and getting accurate readings. Therefore, everybody will have an accurate bill. By increasing their bill, because that's what we're doing by raising the minimum, we're increasing their bill to whatever it should be so that they can afford their bill. I don't understand that.
And Mayor, can I speak one more time?
Go ahead.
I don't understand how someone don't understand that if people are spending $60 and using $100 worth of water, that when the accurate reading finally catches up, they're not going to be upset. If I use $50 a month, and that's what I pay, and I pay for $10 a month, then something's wrong. When I get that accurate bill and I owe hundreds of dollars, I'm going to be upset. I'm not saying bill them for something they're not using. I said raise the minimum, which is still going to be below what they're actually consuming. It just takes away the sticker shock, because when they get that bill, just like Trustee said, of $700, they're going to come up here, and Trustee's not going to be here. They hear him yell and swear and curse people out. They're going to want to know, how did I get a $700 bill when I've been paying $56 all along?
Okay.
Why is my bill so big?
The whole point. The point is they're getting an estimated bill. Give them an accurate bill. If we do our job and get them an accurate bill,
I agree.
then the bill will be fine. There's no need to raise anything. That's what I'm saying. Why raise something when we already know what the problem is? The problem is get them an accurate bill and not an estimated bill. That way, why are we raising it? There's no reason to raise it if we do our job.
It was said in these board meetings that we could not, and this was said to this board many times, we cannot read all the meters in this village during a billing cycle. And that's why we were going out to get the meters that can be read by one machine, by any one person anywhere in the village. And we ran into trouble with the loan that we were trying to get, because it was $1 million something, and we were going to change out all the meters. But until we get that in, I was told, and if it's not true, it was bad information given to the board, but I was told there's no way we could read all the meters in the village of Dolton currently with the people that we have.
That's why you had to bring on more people to read them. This was what I tried to do in August. It was voted against. It's crazy to have, right now, it's $1.6 million that is uncollected that's out there from the water department. And if we had current readings, that would increase by almost another $1 million. So it's almost an injustice to continue, and like some residents says, they've had estimated bills for many years. It's almost an injustice to say now, okay, we're going to give you a current reading, and that $57 or whatever it is that was on a monthly basis now goes to $157. But most of the estimated bills that are out now are way below the accurate usage, which when you get the accurate usage, then we get the complaints. But at some point in time, we have to remedy the situation. So just by saying we don't have the money to hire these part-time meter readers, we're still making the problem bigger. You know, so just since last August, when I wanted to, and I went on the advice of the water meter readers. They said we need help, Mayor. And then all of a sudden, when it came up here in front of the board, no, we don't need any help. So what we did, now we're close to a year from where we could have started to correct the situation, but we're deeper than where we were. So we got to have a solution. Got to have a solution. You know, which brings me to bringing in, stand up, please. This is Mr. Sammy Young. I brought him in last week as the head of the water department. He has a big job to do. He's going to be held accountable. We have to get this water situation under control. Right now, we owe the city of Chicago $8 million. $2 million of that is penalty and interest. And it has to be under control. It has to get under control. And with less than 50% of our billing for the residents, it is estimated billing. There's no way we're going to be able to enter into agreement, which we have to enter into an agreement with the city of Chicago to make payments in an agreement that we can live with also and not default on. So there has to be a solution to this. I'm counting on this man to put it in place. That's basically where we're at. Go ahead, Chair.
How y'all doing? Thank you, Mayor. Well, it was brought to my attention, we definitely losing money, and there's a problem with the water department and the meter reading, because ain't no way is one reading's numbers is one way, then the next week is lower than it was the time before that. So we got to find out where that problem is coming from and then attack the problem and get the problem solved. But it's definitely a problem with the readings. Now, I went out my first day here last week with one of the meter readers, and I seen how he read inside and the outside. So we coming up with some ideas where we're going to attack this problem, but I'm going to do my best. I come here to do a job. I'm going to do the best I can with the job.
Right. And the water meter readings is not synonymous with Dolton. A lot of the towns I talk to other mayors, they have problems. That's one of the biggest problems is the water. Now, one thing I'm going to say is that we're probably the second lowest village in regards to what we charge for water. And thank God that these last couple of years we haven't had a serious number of water main breaks that caused us to incur additional cost. 3 years ago, we had about 40 water main breaks in one winter season. This year, it was how many, Matt? It was probably 13 or 14, which kept our overtime costs down, which kept our supply costs down, and it kept the water from running. Because even though, every time there's a water main break, there's no resident that's responsible for it, the village responsible for it. So if it breaks on a Friday, we try to get the public works out there to repair it right away, because if it runs all weekend, we got meters, and the city of Chicago just installed two new meters for accuracy. The village is responsible for that water usage that's leaked out. It goes through no one else's meter but ours. So by us being very cheap in the water that we charge the residents, we have to make up and make sure, and that's why it's important that we do the leak testing, because the last one saved us over approximately about $500,000. So we have to be smart in what we do, how we attack the problem, and we have to get the current meter readings by whatever means, not by whatever means, but by good smart means, and one of those is having the right people to and the correct number of people to read the meters.
Well, we're gonna come up with a master plan and we're gonna make it happen.
Thanks.
All
Thanks,
right.
Mr. Young. Okay, it's, one other thing I'd like to say is that, you know, some time ago, this board, and not all the members of the board, but voted to have someone, a company, take possession of the vacant houses here in the village of Dolton and to try to repair them and or sell them to get them back on the tax rolls. Now, when you talk about generate revenue here for the village, they chose an attorney to represent us to file the liens on the houses. With the initial ones that were filed, 6 of those houses, he charged us $5,000 a piece to file the liens, way over and above what we should have been charged. Secondly, by giving these houses to a third party to sell them and look at possibly, okay, fine, they're going to sell them and it's going to be back on the tax rolls, but it's not going to go back on the tax rolls for a couple of years, so we won't generate anything from it. But to allow them to take possession of these houses and sell it and gain and get the total amount of those houses that they sell them for is ludicrous. We're giving money away. I've talked to several companies that can do exactly what they do, and when they sell the house, we get a percentage of the sale. So you want to talk about generating revenue to help us get out of the financial situation we're in? I think this board needs to review that and take control over the situation that's out there right now, where and it's BP Capital is taking these houses and selling them and being gainfully, what can I say, increasing their money. They're getting the money. They're getting the money. Why can't that money be put back in the community to help pay for some of the things that we do? You know, it was said that we had over 400 vacant houses. I'm quite sure we can't take total possession of all of them. But even if we took possession of 100 of them and we did, got 10,000 apiece, you're looking at a lot of money. Looking at a lot of money. And that's conservative to 10,000. That's conservative. But that money should go back into the community to help us get back up on our feet. And so I hope, somewhere down the road, this board considers that, because that would be a quick way for us to generate some revenue and help us get back on our feet. Okay, next thing on the agenda is the citizens' address. Okay, we got, since so many people want to talk tonight, we're going to hold you to 3 minutes. Pardon me? That's why you're coming off the payroll. That's why I'm coming off the payroll? Well, that's fine. I'm going to say this. I'm going to respond to that. That's fine. This is not my seat. If the people choose to not elect me, I'm fine with that. Believe me. Believe me, what I get paid for is a lot less than a lot of full-time mayors get paid for. But go ahead. Trustee Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, village trustees,
Mayor Brown,
deputy clerk, department heads, and the most important, residents.
It's 1 minute.
I just like to speak on this. There is a big problem there, and I know for the last 6 years, I've been bringing my card up here myself, personally. And also, there's some residents that I come and bring their cards up for them. It's a slap in the face for me to get 3 estimate payments. Out of a year, I got estimated 3 times. And that's unfair, because I bring in my card faithfully. And that estimate is tough.
Mr. Brown, that's one of the problems that I talked with him about. Where residents have bought their cards in, and they still got an estimated bill, and we're gonna correct that.
Because of which was last year, February, March, and April, I got an estimate bill. April, May, June estimate bill for 3 months in a row. Then just my last payment, they gave me the card, and like I say, I have spent much time over in the water department talking about other people's bill. So we do have a problem over there. It's going to be a job to do over there. And it's just unfair. It's a slap in the face, and it really look like you're talking about raising the water bill when you look at estimates, and then you get that real bill in, because some of us are on fixed incomes, and we more or less, watch our budget. So when that bill come in like that, it do look bad. But I just feel it's unfair to try and vote on raising estimates right now. We got some in-house cleaning to do. We get that. It can cut down on that raising it, but you may still have to raise it. But we have to clean our own house up first, because right now I can look at about 5 years ago we owed the city of Chicago $2 million on the water bill. And back then, I was fortunate to serve the residents as a trustee here, and we definitely fought to get the water bill money into a separate account, and that was supposed to be being paid. I don't know how we got to $8 million now. So money has been misappropriated somewhere in this line. So we need to clean up our own house first before we talk about throwing anything else on the residents. It'll sound better. It'll seem as though you're actually thinking about the residents. Right now, it just sounds, let's get some more money from the residents. We got to get the city of Chicago paid up.
10 seconds.
And we still had that problem going on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I don't know where to start at, but thank you for allowing me this time to speak. My name is Nanette McCullough. My address is 1427 East 155th Place and 1415 East 155th Place. I've been a resident here for probably 30 years. I pay my housing, I pay my taxes, which are ridiculous. But when I ask this village for something to fix, I'm not asking that they're Johnny on the spot. I call, make an appointment, have them come and fix it. Come and take a look at it. I have a hole in a driveway that's probably been there for 15 years. I called and said, can someone come and repair this sewer? It's sinking. It's not my sewer, it's the village sewer. It's a problem. You take the snow and plow it over it, but it's still a problem. It's sinking. So I called every month. Can I get somebody over? They put a harness there where my tenants have to obstruct their cars to go around this hole so that they don't tear their own cars up. I call, it's going to be repaired before April the 16th. Okay? April the 16th was today. I called last week, hey, when is this hole going to be fixed? Ms. McCullough, it's going to be fixed by Monday. Monday is here. Well, it was yesterday. I called today, is the hole going to be fixed today? Oh, we have 6 guys out. That's not my problem, because when you had all 20 of your employees working, you could have had them over there fixing the hole. Excuses are not acceptable with me. I run a business, and for this big village like this to give me an excuse about a hole that they can't put some concrete in, it's absolutely ridiculous. And then the properties are behind the Dorchester. Thank you for putting that farm back there where they grew vegetables and fresh fruit or whatever. It's turned into a dump. Nobody goes back there and clean it up. It's just people are bringing all their trash back there and put it. And I have to pay you guys money, $10,000 for taxes. Ridiculous.
Let's get that clear. You don't pay it to us. Pay it to the county.
I'll pay it to the county.
Yeah.
Okay.
One thing.
Nope. Let me finish.
Okay.
My 3 minutes ain't close. Then you can interject. The next piece, the water bills.
Mm-hmm.
I have tenants in my property that work. It is no reason why I should have a water bill, Mr. New Chief. $2,100? Oh, this is your reading. I'm going to send somebody out there to take a look at it. Who's using the water like that when everybody is working? That's ridiculous. So I'm going to address the water department tomorrow without our new person being involved, to have them to send me all the readings from previous. That's my comments for today.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to see you here. I haven't seen you here before.
Well, thank you. Good. I don't want to come here. I don't want to come here.
Okay. Secondly, you said the hole's been there like that for 15 years. I'm gonna take credit for 5 of the last years.
Okay.
And then I want to ask Matt what happened.
Well, the sewer has, the castings caving in and it caved in. We've been out. We're trying to get to it. We're down.
Okay, all right. She says she's been complaining for the last 5 years or whatever. We're going to take care of that this week, okay?
I'm praying about it.
Okay.
And I had to come here today just to get it heard because it's an embarrassing to me. I
It's
have people who
embarrassing to
live
me
there.
that you're here talking about it.
It
Okay?
is.
So it's going to be done this week.
Thank you.
Matt? Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, of course, I'm complaining about my water bill, and my situation is a little different. First of all, I've been in my house for 13 years. My bill has never, ever been over $165, and it's not ever estimated.
Okay.
I do a reading. Curtis comes and reads my meter every time it's time for it to be read. My one issue is customer service. I've talked to Cheryl, I've talked to Jackie, and I've tried to talk to Barbara, who actually, instead of returning my call, had Cheryl call me back and give me the same message that I had already told her. I work. I have a job, just like everybody that work in the water department. You can't tell me that you want to send public works out between 8 and 4, and I work 8 to 4 to say, I want to see if your meter is leaking because somebody miskeyed a number. So back in May of 2017, my water meter may have said 2505. Don't send me a bill that's due April 12th that says that my previous reading was 2505 when it was 2505 9 months ago.
Okay.
And then tell me you send me a bill for $465. And then tell me, well, there's nothing we can do unless we send somebody to your house. I'm not taking off my job. So one problem in the water department is customer service.
Okay.
The second thing is whoever keys these numbers in, because I actually have a printout that Jackie printed out for me from 2015 all the way up to this bill. It's common sense. It's cut and dry. She could have looked at my bills on her own, just like I did, and seen that my bill is the same. It's only 2 people in my house. There's no way I had a 66 as a consumption. My daughter works a full-time job just like I do. I'm out the country once every month, every 45 days. No way this bill is right, and I'm not paying this. So somebody better get the whole system in order. It goes back to what she just said. You got to get your house in order first, but you need to start with the people that work in the house.
Well, that's what we're trying to do. That's why I brought this young man in. And the only way we can check it is have them come out and check the meter and check the
Well, that's
accuracy
my
of the
issue.
reading.
They sent somebody, his name was Chris,
Yeah.
when I first called in complaining about the bill. He came and reread the bill. I called back that Monday because he came on a Friday, and they told me they didn't have it, and because Cheryl didn't even put it in the system. So then I said, well, you need to have Cheryl call me back. And then Cheryl said, oh, he said it's nothing wrong with the meter. But then you come back and say, well, Public Works need to come. Why is all these people coming to read a meter?
Yeah. Can you give Mr. Young your address?
I sure will.
And young lady, can you give Mr. Young your address? Tomorrow, pull the history on both of those.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, residents and trustee board and mayor. Okay, back to the estimated bill. This is my scenario that they give me. I have been reading my meter since I've been here. I take it in faithfully. I didn't know you could call it in until Mr. Muhammad said so. I bring mine in. When they came up, this was after the meeting where the water meter said that they didn't need anybody, because I was at that meeting also. I called, they sent me a letter saying, make an appointment to have your meter read. I had my meter read, okay? The next 2 days after my meter was read, I read my meter and brought it up here, okay? I still get an estimated bill. I got a bill for $300 once. I asked them, why am I getting this bill? They admitted it was a mistake. I was told that I will always get an estimated bill because I had to pay the minimum. That's what I was talking about, Mr. Pearson. So you got other scenarios to that estimated bill. You got people that's not using that water, that's paying for water. Now, if you want a true reading is a true reading. In South Holland, where my mother is, I don't know why it's costing us so much. They came out, it didn't take them about 2-3 minutes. They came in there, put something on her meter. You can't even tell it's there. And now they just ride down the street with the gun. So she gets a true reading. But see, I never get a true reading.
Yeah.
I tell her I had to pay the minimum. I don't think that's fair. That's why I was on you. It wasn't that would affect me, that estimated bill. My last bill I just got was estimated. I sent in a card. They said I will always get an estimated bill
One thing that we
because I had to have a minimum.
Yeah, one thing that we talked about was putting the readers on the outside where they can use the touchpads to read them.
Well,
And
my
when-
mother's is on the inside and they
Yeah.
use a touchpad.
and they wouldn't have to actually try to, come into the house. So that's one of the things we want to get involved with. Now, we don't per se, if you look at your other utility bills like ComEd, Nicor, they charge you a service charge just to be able to have electricity or to have gas. You don't, your meter can be off, but you're still going to get that service charge.
I don't mind. I don't mind the service. This
now-
is my 3 minutes now.
Yeah, I know.
He's getting ready to put shut me
Okay,
down.
But I'm just responding. We don't charge a service charge like that, but some towns do. Whether you use your water or not, you're gonna get a service charge just like the other utilities charge.
If, according to what Mr. Pearson just said,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind if you gave me the service charge, okay? At least I won't get an estimated bill.
Right.
And if they decide to go up on an estimated bill, it would not affect me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about the water bill.
But you shouldn't get an estimated bill. Whoever
I
told you,
get-
whoever told you that you're gonna continue to get an estimated bill, that's
Brian,
that's
but
not true.
Matt, because I talked to you about it too, wasn't that Brian? Who was over you before? Yeah. I talked to Brian.
Mm-hmm.
I brought the bill up, and I was told that I have to consume an X amount of water. So they cannot give me a true reading. I read my bill. I had someone come out and read the bill. We both had the same thing, and I still pay the same amount of money.
Well, we need to correct it. We got
So I don't get a true reading. And another thing,
We're past 3 minutes.
see?
Okay, I took up a minute of her.
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
I got
30
to talk fast
Got
now.
it. Yeah.
I do not appreciate people coming in the meetings talking out of order. Because I remember when this whole trustee board wanted to charge us $500. They said if you speak out of line, $500. You got two people here came up here, took over some of our time to speak at this podium instead of come to citizen dress like the rest of us had to do.
Right.
Plus turned around and told us to shut up.
Yeah. Well,
You were at the podium. It was you that said it. You right there looking at me crazy.
yeah. So,
Good evening, residents. It is very clear we have issue with water department. I too am a resident. I do my estimate. I get an estimated bill, but I bring my card in every time. I was told that I would always have a minimum bill regardless of my reading. I work all day too, so water is not running in my house, so I don't understand why I'm paying what I'm paying. Been out here 18 years. My bill was once $47, now it's $130-some dollars? $132.10. So that's all I'm gonna say about that. So it's clear we have a problem. But the mayor hit on something that's near and dear to me, BP Capital, and all you guys know that is something that's a thorn in my side because it doesn't make sense for us to be paying them the amount of money that we're paying them to do a service that the South Suburban Land Bank gives us for free. But since we're not a member community anymore, we can't take advantage of something that just has come up that will also save us money. I'll share it with you. Perhaps we might reconsider. The land bank has been granted more money that would help with, it's a relief program that helps with demolition, it helps with grass cutting, it helps with several things here, but you have to be a member community of the land bank. We're missing out on these fundings that are free for us because we're choosing to use another organization. I did suggest that perhaps we can use both. That hasn't come back up. I think that if we are in a deficit, we need to consider all things to bring more revenue here. Okay? That's one thing. I only got 3 minutes. You asked for comments about the building. I think that it should be marketed before we make a decision to just, in the terms used, give it away. You don't know who's looking for that building if you don't market it. We just can't take the first thing coming. We've made that mistake with other decisions made here. You have a...
We had 4 different investors look at it, so that wasn't accurate. We had a Perion look at it and 3 other investors.
Well, it wasn't presented that you had others, so I appreciate you informing me of that. Which, you had a comment too? No, I thought you were going to comment.
Well, there were other investors, but we never listed it on the market with a real estate agent.
So would it be to our benefit to list it and see who else is interested? Perhaps someone has an interest in that building that could utilize it, and we perhaps can make more money. Just asking the question. I think it's a wonderful idea for the committees to be formed, but I would ask that you include residents, because just so you guys are residents, we are too. And for us to have our voice involved would be a great thing. I love sitting at the table. I love hearing what's going on, and I love giving my knowledge too. So I would appreciate if that's considered when that's voted on. At least have a couple of residents involved. Okay? I'm trying to get through all my comments.
We've reached the 3-minute mark.
It hasn't been 3 minutes, really?
It's been 3 minutes and 13 seconds.
Can I have 30 more, please? That's not mine. So lastly, though, so much to say. I just think that we should vet all businesses that come into the community, not just the ones trying to make a profit, but I think we all should sit at the table to do that. Because we have some businesses operating, not just the Smokies, but there are other businesses within our community that I don't feel are legitimate. So I would love to sit at that table too.
Now, we keeping you to 3 minutes. You want to take my salary away?
You know, you working my occipital nerve back here.
You working mine, too. Go ahead.
Good evening, everybody.
Go ahead.
I hate this microphone. I get nervous every time I'm up here. You probably can't tell, but I'll be so outdone with myself. But I wanted to first give kudos. Everything isn't always bad here. I want to thank you guys. That was Trustee Stubbs, I'll say, and Trustee House, who mentioned about bringing the community into helping to make some of the decisions here. And I think that that is so important, and that's what's missing. But we don't want to just make decisions out here. I think we need to be back there with you making decisions, primarily because you guys are so divisive right now. We don't understand who's doing what back there. So there should be some community members, at least a couple, maybe several, maybe 2 or 3, that needs to be in that back room with you guys, because every time you all come out here, it's unfortunate we don't get things done in our community because, you know, good ideas fall by the wayside, bad ideas are getting pushed through, you know, and that's has to do with everybody that's up here. In reference to the water bill, I'll say this, you got your hands full, you already know that. And it's inevitable that our water bills are going up. I don't care what you say. I don't care how you say it. I don't care how it's put. Our water bills are gonna go up. That's inevitable. So to sit here and run, I'll say what they say, run game on people like it's not, when you know that it is, I don't like that. And I don't think the people of Dolton like that either. That's not a good thing. I had so many different things that I wanted to touch bases on, but every week there's a new situation. You can't even keep up with what's going on in here. It's not even funny because, and I say that because the village of Dolton, whoever's out there listening, who's ever out there watching, you need to start coming to this meeting. I know we all work. I'm not saying you got to be here every other week. I'm not even here every other week. But at least come see what your money is doing. We put these people here to do a job. Unfortunately, the job that we set them there to do is not being done very well. There's only one organization in this whole city that I see that is really moving up. That's the Park District. Every time I look around, the Park District done build something else, done built this, done did that. You know, I don't know why we can't do that for our own village. Trustee Muhammad, I would like to address the HBO. I believe it's the HBO interview that you're going to have, or the special. I give you kudos for that. You know, in reference to showing our kids things that can kind of help keep them out of trouble, or, you know, keep them from going the wrong direction. But the biggest problem with that is our Children's Community Center still is not built. Nobody, ever since I brought this up, not one person went back there beyond those meetings to mention, well, what are we going to do about the community center? You know, we talk about all these other things. We talk about all these other things in reference to, you know, we're going to pay money to do this, we're going to pay money to do that. But the money that you're paying out, really, it's not doing anything. I don't see really anything really tangible that our village have actually done for us. Not tangible. And the smoky shop, Mr. Mayor, come on, really? We don't need another liquor store, another smoke shop, another discotheque. I'm tired. South Holland don't have all of this in their village. Why we got to have all of this in our village?
Well, let me tell you this.
4 minutes.
It's not the fact that first of all, I inherited over 30-something liquor licenses when I got in the office. I inherited that. Okay, so don't blame that on me.
What's the smoking? No. Hold up. And that's part of your problem, Mr. Mayor. I see what the trustees are talking about. That's part of your problem because you never take ownership.
I'm trying to.
There has to be accountability on this board for all of you. All of you are accountable. Even you, Trustee Stubbs, who brought up, you know what? When I came in the office, this water bill situation was here, and for the record, I didn't have nothing to do with it. But for the record, you guys right now are accountable. I don't care whose problem it was before you got there. The reason why the other people probably are not here is because of other things that had not been taken care of, and they're not taking accountability. Take accountability for what you're doing. We're going to change that on this coming election because there's an election that's coming.
I hope
it's coming, and it's coming for y'all.
I hope you do. I hope you do. I agree with you. We got an election in 10 months. In 10 months.
Good evening, everybody. I have a couple questions about the water bill. I pay the water bill. My water bill is paid. I'm not saying that it's correct, but I still pay it. I pay the water bill $216. I don't know who Curtis is, but I got an estimate, yellow card in my door, March the 26th. What is that about? So I've been looking for the bill, but I haven't received the bill, so I don't know well, I know it had to be a mistake, and I don't know what's the deal with that. And okay, the next thing, Trustee Stubb, you mentioned about the paper. Okay, why can't they put that in with the bill? They got the bill in an envelope now. Senate, I don't think you got resident don't drive, can't get out. So why have 2 or 3 people coming picking up, and when you got people that can't come out, send it to everybody. That should have been done the first of the year.
I asked her to send that to everybody.
Okay.
So they'll know when their bill is due.
Okay, my next question, who's over Melanie? Who's the chairperson, Melanie?
There is not one.
Oh, praise God for that. Thank you. Because there has been so much stuff going on with Melanie. You know, I go to Melanie now once every 2 weeks because there's going on so much stuff has been going on. I don't mean with the new one now. I mean with the past, that I still feel stupid for what I've said. And I have to apologize. It's a lot of stuff. So we all live in a glass house. If we all in a glass house, you can't stone no stone. So that goes for Muhammad. You have to be careful, Muhammad. You putting out a little too much to think about. You got to think about the past because I won't forget it, what I went through and the way I made myself look stupid. So you got to be careful what you're saying because you remember, you haven't been all the way right yourself. God bless you.
Good evening. My name is Beth. I'm a Dolton resident. I'd like to say a few things about the Melanie Fitness Center. I don't understand the place. I've never been there. I wouldn't mind going to a fitness center if I understood it better and what the fees were and how it was all working in there. Issue that I would like to speak to is that if the property is sold, it would be nice if it did not have lifetime memberships that cost a lot of money, where you pay a lot of money, like $500 to become a member. It would be nice if it could be like per year only or per month so that no one got caught up in a big amount of contract money. It would be nice to have that.
That's the way it is now. I don't think there's any lifetime memberships.
So it would be nice if it would continue like that, and that more people could exercise and be healthier. It would be also good if people in this village would walk more in the parks and around the community. That would make people healthier. Walking is a very good thing. You don't really harm yourself when you walk if you're careful. So it would be very good if people would be encouraged to walk. That was that. The second thing that I did not understand when people said they couldn't get a business license, and then our police chief went in the facility and saw that they were operating a business. I'm not understanding the disrespect that was shown, and that he did see them doing business activities. I don't understand the disrespect. That's something that we need to maybe pray about, and we need to be more respectful of our leadership here. And I'm very thankful for the leadership we have in our police department, because 10 or 15 years ago, I went through some issues with the police department that were very unsettling. And I really wouldn't want everyone to know some of the things that occurred, but I mean, we need to pray for our authority, and we need to show more respect.
Thanks, Beth.
Good evening, Mrs. Creighton. My first comment or concern would be just getting clarification. Did we not, when we talked about 6 months ago, hiring 3 additional individuals, because we asked the meter readers that they need assistance to catch up, and they said if they would get at least 3 people, did we hire those 3 people?
No, they did not. Ms. Creighton, they hired just one of the 3 that we requested based on the recommendations of the water meter. Only 1 person was hired part-time.
Okay. And was that because we didn't have the monies, or we couldn't afford it? What was the concern?
No, we budgeted for it, but again, they weren't hired. They only hired the 1.
They only hired the 1. And may I ask who Mr. Sammy Young is? I thought that the trustees were, did you all know that there was a department head hired? I think the last question at the last meeting, I asked that, would it be conducive for everyone to be aware of what individuals, administrators were being hired, so you'd be on the same page? Were you aware that this gentleman was being hired to head the water department, and what is his credentials? May I have a copy of his resume? No, I'm not trying to be ill will. I just need a copy of his resumes to understand his qualifications. Can I request that, Mayor? Yes. Oh, okay, I can request that. And then my next one would be, the trustee, Muhammad, you guys, the trustees agreed that it would be awesome to promote on the Channel 4 and 99, the process of what you had to go through in order to read your meters, your water meters, and to educate us all on what would be the best concept. Is everybody still in agreement with that? Should we not broadcast that to educate us? I'm asking each trustee.
Ms. Creighton, I suggested that at my committee meeting that we put it on our access channels to educate the residents on how to read the meter, when their billing cycle is, and to also put it in the mail to communicate with the residents so they have a clear understanding about an estimated bill and a regular reading, and the way that they could call it in, or they can send the card in or come up in person.
So I understand that, and my comment at the last meeting was that a little frustrated, because if we're able to borrow millions of dollars out of that water fund, why are we where we are? And understanding that the responsibility of us, the residents. I also referenced that possibly we could get the technology to read, so that it would keep us. We got 3 months where people's bills are going backwards and forwards. But if we invested in the technology, are you guys in agreement that we need technology we've been talking about water bills since 2000.
Yes, to answer your question, Ms. Creighton, we are applying for a loan, IEPA loan, and there was some paperwork that has to be done where we can have what's called radio readers. One of the residents mentioned about her mom in South Holland, but this particular reader would go attached to your home, where the person would just drive down the street, stop, and then take the whole block at one time.
And
we're in the process of getting that done, but there's some more paperwork that we need to have.
Okay, so Trustee Pearson said we didn't qualify it. Is that what you're referencing?
There was some more papers that need to be done, and the person that was working on that was Brian Marciniak. Now our finance person is working on that now.
Excellent, excellent.
Yvonne Redmond.
We're on way past the 3-minute mark.
And referencing, thank you, and then referencing the rise in the system, the documentary, documentary, I've watched it with a group of young people already in the city of Chicago. I think that it helps us. I used to participate in this Scare Straight. So if everyone could be in agreement, and the attorney already said, 30 days is 30 days. So I would greatly appreciate us showing that video, because once again, no, we have done nothing to assist the youth in the village of Dolton.
Thank you, Ms. Creighton. This is Minister White. I want you all to keep her in your prayers. Her father just recently passed, and his services are this week. So, Ms. White.
Thank you so much, Mayor. I just have one question. I got a chance to look at the last board meeting, actually the last 2 board meetings that I haven't been here. And I know one of the things that's very prevalent is dealing with our water. And I listened to Commissioner Brown talk about the fact that when he was a trustee, that the water bill was in deficit of $2 million. I do remember that, and now it's up to $8 million. And I know that there's a lot of residents that might not pay their water bills for whatever reason, or businesses, or it might not be paid on time. But I pay my water bill on time, and I pay early, and my water bill has increased over the past 2 years, which I'm fine with that, because I do know that things go up. But as a resident, and the fact that this village owes $8 million in rearage for water, why can I not pay my water bill to who it's due to? Because I don't want to be in the village one day and your water, you all have not paid the water, whether they filed a suit against the village and you all are working out an agreement to get this rearage paid, and you're trying to pay the current bills, and I don't know where the misappropriation of funds came in, that this has not been rectified in all of these years, that this is just a continuous problem. So I want to know where I can actually pay my water bill to and not pay to the village of Dolton, because I don't want to come home one day and my water is off. And I'm not pointing a finger at anybody on this board. I just want to know, where can I pay my bill to so that I can have working water in my home? So can somebody answer that question for me?
Well, it hasn't got to that point where you have to pay someone else. I don't think we're in jeopardy of getting the water turned off in the village. When Trustee Brown, or former Trustee Brown, came up and said it was $2 million, it was $2 million delinquency, but it was also $2 million a penalty. So realistically, it was over $4 million that the city owed. And now we've had some challenges, and looking at straightforward, we've had some challenges here with finance. We had an opportunity to sell to Dorchester. It was voted against selling to Dorchester. I think when we had that opportunity, we should have took it. We could have paid our bill and been even with the city of Chicago. For the ever since I've been a trustee and as mayor, we've gotten a letter from the city of Chicago that our water rate is going to go up 25% every year. We failed to pass that increase off to the residents, and now we're sitting here on the city of Chicago, a lot of money. There was an agreement that was put into place with the city of Chicago by a former village administrator. He advised us that he was paying a water bill, and that wasn't true.
So there's no checks and balances being done
there
from
are.
what the former administrator said was being done, and now we come to find out it's not done, and now we're in jeopardy. And
Well, we were in jeopardy prior.
but not as detrimental to as we are right now.
Not as
I
detrimental.
know that we were in jeopardy before, but
Yeah.
not this bad.
Well, with the bill not being paid, we incurred some more penalty and interest. And that's where we're at right now. We're in the process right now of trying to get an agreement, a renewed agreement with the city of Chicago, something that we can live with. We don't need to be in agreement that's something we can't pay for.
Okay.
So we need to look at every avenue in regards to income, and that's why I mentioned it earlier about, maybe revisiting those vacant houses that we've given to somebody else, and they're making a revenue, which that revenue can help us, especially alleviate some of the bills that we have.
That's
So-
one possibility too. But in hindsight, Mayor, let's just say that you're working out an agreement with the city of Chicago.
Right.
Say they decide not to honor any agreement that you want done. Then where does that leave us as a community? And the village still owes this outlandish bill. Where does that leave us if they're not going to be in agreement with you for what you want to do?
There has been dialogue on several occasions with our finance director and with the village attorney. The city filed a complaint. We've given them, from my understanding with our village attorney, we've given them some of the things that we want them to consider in regards to doing an agreement. We think for sure that they're going to give us agreement, but we want to make sure it's not an agreement that we cannot live up to.
Okay.
And we have to make some radical changes in the way we conduct our business with the water department and the way that we conduct our business with the city of Chicago. Now, prior administration, when I was a trustee, they were notified that we were going to get a 5-year increase every January, which was going to amount to close to 25%. And be straight with you, some political aspects came into it. Election was coming up. Well, we don't want to raise the residents' water rates. But we could not sustain, as a village, with the revenue that we had coming in, we could not sustain ourselves and not pass those increases off. And they've never been passed off. So you look at over just the last 7 years at a 25% increase for 7 years every year. We're way behind, and that should have been something that should have been addressed, regardless of the political implications it had, but it wasn't.
Okay. That was my next question.
Right now, no. However, we have a substantial.
Not true. We just made a large payment last week.
$263,000.
Last week.
We just made it last week.
Okay, fine. I'm not sure if it went out last week. I know that we had at least $250,000 we were going to submit to the water department. So if it's went out, it has.
Okay.
$263,000. 63 for the present, $200,000 on the rear.
Good evening. Piggybacking off what the lady just mentioned regarding paying her bill to somebody else, I think one of the worst things that we could have happen, hopefully if it doesn't, and I'm pretty sure the board understands this, if we get a receiver to come in, because allowing a receiver to come in then takes another step, which takes away some of the power, particularly with the mayor, to pay that, the board to pay that, because they say they can't trust us to pay the money, so we're going to get the presidents pay directly to the city, and we're going to take away that power away. We can't, exactly. We can't allow that to happen, because what it does is not say all, but a nice portion of the communication and the marketing that goes out from Dolton is not good. It just doesn't promote us well. But also, all of us as a community, we have, and not just for the water, but for everything, we have to continue to make sure we're promoting Dolton in a good light, but it does, we do have to make sure that we are doing the right things to promote Dolton in a good light. And it's not just the water, it's a lot of things, it encompasses a lot of things, but it takes a village, literally, it takes a village. So even though we employ you, what can we do to help? What can we do to help? I don't know if you guys get that question, but I want to, and you probably do, but I want to make sure it's on the record. What can we do to help?
Well, when I asked a question about the businesses coming into our community, because I've been living here for 18 years, and ever since I've came to this community, I've been involved in my community, and I care about my community. So therefore, in establishing a planning committee, with the board's approval on the 7th, then I'm looking for ideas on what you would like to see in your community ice cream shop, a mom and pop candy store, popcorn store, or whatever. I'm taking your ideas on what we would like to see in our community, whether it's a flower shop. We don't have a flower shop, an art store. I would like to open this up not only to the trustees and the mayor, but also the residents also. Chief Collins, can I share your information with you? He loves art. He's a great photographer. Perhaps instead of taking his business to another community, he'll consider opening up part 2 here in our community. It's all what we want. This is not about I. This is about all of us, not some of us, and not one of us.
I think the mayor alluded to in a comment he responded to, saying that his seat is not his, it's ours. And I appreciate him making that comment, because that solidifies that he knows, and I'm pretty sure as the rest of the board knows, is that you are placed there, you are hired there to do a job. The only thing that we've asked, and I think we've been asking this, is that you do your job. But as employers, you are not here on your own, because we employ you. So that's why I asked, what can we do to help you? Because we're always using comparisons to our neighbors to the south, in South Holland. The difference between us in South Holland, not only as their administration and their governance takes care of the village, their residents care about the village. So we often throw that comparison out, not realizing and not understanding that there's two ways, there's two sides of the street. So that's why I asked. I appreciate you giving that idea. I hope that we can have more think tanks like that on all of our issues. Specifically, what committee is the water under? Is the water bill under?
Planning.
Planning.
Yes.
Okay. So I ask, is there any way for the next planning meeting, committee meeting, can we have a list of ideas, a think tank that says, we know that problem, let's think of solutions, bring it to the meeting, have voter inputs. That means we got to come to the meeting, because they show up, they have the meetings. If we don't show up, it's not their problem, it's ours.
One of the things
You're absolutely right.
You mentioned the fact that how can you help? Well, usually we don't see anybody here. We got a regular people that come, regular residents come in on a regular basis. You just start coming. I know you came before, and you just started coming back here recently. But you have to get involved, whether it's committee meetings, and not just show up once a month or twice a month when it's time for a meeting.
Or something's bad's going on.
Right. There you go. There you go. So, like, some residents here that I haven't seen before came tonight to voice their opinion in regards to a complaint. To be quite honest with you, it kind of pisses me off when they come to voice it, when it gets to this point where they have to come to a board meeting to voice the problems that should have been taken care of. You know, I don't like that.
it's a bad reflection on your administration and the village as a whole, and I completely understand, because you shouldn't have to ask him what happened before him, and somebody's still complaining about it. And so I definitely understand.
We're over about 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And we should get out here.
10
And so at any rate, that you're absolutely right. Everybody has to get involved, and everybody has to be put in check.
Mayor, can I say something to the young man?
And I'm gonna say this, is that none of these seats up here belong to us. They belong to you. And and it takes something more out of an individual to try to serve 23 or 24,000 residents. But it's up to you all to whether leave us here or get rid of us. And I'm good with that. I'm good with that. So, any rate.
Mayor, may I say something to the young man?
Go ahead.
The Department of Operations, Public Works also fall up under that, and the Water Department. Last week, we held a Public Works Committee meeting. I kid you not, only 2 residents showed up. It was at 5 o'clock in the evening. So I'm asking you, the next meeting, what's conducive for you all? Because I'm retired, but I'm not retired. Because I work from the 7 o'clock in the morning when my phone starts ringing into the wee hours in the evening. So I'm asking if for the next meeting, what's conducive for you, and you have to search the web, or you can give me your number. I'll call you up.
I think, I appreciate that. I think in general for all the meetings, and I know the communication department has a incredible task in front of them as far as getting everything out there. But I understand that they can only do with what they are given when they are giving it to them. So just not for the planning committee, but I think I get the email. I may get an email at the minimum requirement. I think it was 48 hours to be posted. I get that email saying there's a committee hearing 48 hours before. I don't think that is conducive or how you properly handle business when you're trying to handle business, because if you want somebody to come, you only know 48 hours before, or if somebody doesn't check their email till the next day, that's 24. That's not on y'all, but still, it has to be a better way to say, are we going to have this meeting? Cool. Just make a decision on the date, time, location, and then get it out as soon as possible. But when I say as soon as possible, early enough and respectful enough so those that can come, they want to come, they can come. And I know some things are decided last minute, but I think that's part of the issue, is that they're decided last minute.
You know, if there was, in some communities do it this way, they, every committee meeting is pre-scheduled. It's pre-scheduled.
And
on
every level of government.
Whether it's the second Tuesday of every month, we have Department of Operation meetings or planning committee. It's always scheduled on the calendar, and some meetings could be 20 minutes, some meetings could be an hour, but it's already permanently scheduled for those committees on a monthly basis.
Because I appreciate you saying what's the best time for us, but if we all go online or call in or send in a letter saying our times, we're never going to have a meeting, because everybody's time is going to be different. But I do appreciate asking for that input. So I think, going back to what you said, that has to be done, because I'm going to say we can't do that, but we shouldn't do that. Just like we have these board meetings, these COW meetings, set the meeting.
You set a calendar, saying
maybe
committee meeting. Okay.
Maybe the next meeting, we could, all of the committees can come up with a date that we'll have our committee meeting every month, and then that way the residents will know. I'll sure try to come up with mine at the next board meeting.
Okay, I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been motion to adjourn. Roll call.
Trustee Muhammad.
Aye.
Trustee Stubbs.
Aye.
Trustee House.
Aye.
Trustee Denton.
Aye.
Trustee Pearson.
Aye.
Trustee Henyard.
Aye.
Motion carried. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.